Zaslow. Greg Cody. Roy Bellamy. Jeremy Tache. Tony Colariu. Chris Cody. Dan Le Batard.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mic's up. Cue.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show.
I miss the Tartan Army. My wife does not miss the Tartan Army. For those of you who do not know who these people are with their kilts and their drinking, they have made this summer a record-breaking summer for the local beer establishments and all bars in South Florida. The one under my house had a day last week better than any week they've had in 3 years. A day because of how these people party. And at 3 o'clock in the morning the other day, while I'm hearing sung I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys.
That's a good song.
Just all of them singing it in a Scottish brogue. My wife says, because they're clearly throwing garbage cans at each other on the street, and she says to me, "Can we call the police or something?" And I'm like, "Valerie, 2 of the officers are on their shoulders because they were just partying with these people who just bring friendliness and drunkenness everywhere they go."
Is this how they behave when they're home when they're partying? Or it's like, hey, we're on vacation, so we're just going to act like this?
They do travel famously this way, loudly and fun and also charitably. Weirdly, how about this? Or maybe it's not weird. The quietest night I've had in 10 days was the United States game. The game that the United States was playing against Turkey, that was not being watched by anybody. And so there weren't police officers on the shoulders of people throwing garbage cans at each other. But this thing has taken over our country in a way that has been really fun to watch. And I don't know how you guys felt about Colombia, Portugal, but I was in a very popular restaurant at about 7:15 on Saturday night. Very
Wendy's?
Popular. You've been there, Zuma. No one was there. There was not a person in there. We had the restaurant to ourselves because everybody was gathered around a television, and at our watch party, just a vibrating watch party. My wife asked me, and I don't know what your wife's experience was with this, as it was shocking to me to see you dressed up twice this weekend. My wife looked up and asked the question that I imagine a lot of novices ask about soccer when the game is over and the place is going crazy with Colombians. She's like, wait a minute, nobody scored? Nobody scored the entire game. That offsides is bullshit. Like, I know I'm arriving here and changing the rules on things, and I know they've been using all of their instant replay technology very well, and it's super accurate. But when you get a goal in stoppage time like that, and and the player could have had a smaller shoe and it wouldn't have been offsides, that's asinine.
I feel like, Mike, look, correct me, maybe I'm being ugly American here, but shouldn't it be like if more than half his body is offside?
I understand this because it bugs me too, because that goes against the spirit of the rule. Offsides is to take away a discernible advantage by cherry picking. If you watch Cristiano Ronaldo all game, he was very clearly offside because his speed isn't what it used to be. I'm with you. That sucks. That's unfortunate. I would like some grace there. But this is something that Americans do often, and we have to stop pretending like we're not spending 15 minutes an NFL game wondering if someone's toe is on the sideline or if something is a catch or not a catch. The same type of absurdity happens in American football all the time.
this is my counter. First of all, I think it's dumb in that sport too. I think this is the part where people are like, "Oh, so you want them to get their call wrong?" I said, "No, but I don't want calls to be determined on technicalities." What you said is exactly right, Mike. The spirit of the rule was about so people would not gain a material advantage by cherry picking. It wasn't so that, oh, my elbow was out. The idea that the silliest things break that invisible plane that no one with the naked eye could ever see is the part that gets so frustrating as someone who's loved this game for a long time.
I will say, though, they have the technology in a place now where it's irrefutable. It is proven, and I know a lot of people don't want to trust the tech, and they can manipulate it, and we certainly heard a lot of that with Iran, who were so unfortunate. Basically, this entire tournament was weighted against them in really unfair ways. But it's irrefutable. The technology is such that, yes, I feel very confident that dude's toenail was offside, and it is a part of his body that he can score with. There are pretty absurd things that we've seen in Europe where, there's a shoulder or a hand that's offside. I'm like, you famously cannot score a goal with your hand. How is this an advantage?
But this is a difference, though. When you mention football, American football, and you're right, it's we are now over officiating these things, and yet somehow still complaining about the officiating. But what I'm objecting to in this particular instance is, it doesn't happen very often in American football that the goal is so valuable that what you're doing is you've got an entire country celebrating, and then you're like, yeah, never mind. Greg Cody at the watch party, Chris Cody's entire role at the watch party was just to throw up an arm. He was offsides guy at the watch party. He wasn't rooting for anything but corner kicks that he bet on because he bet on 9.5 plus corners. Yeah. And all he was doing was throwing his hand up. He was the only guy there.
I love to see it first.
Amid a bunch of Colombians, he's the only guy throwing his arm up in the air to be the official guy.
I hear the argument, and I get it. I'm very frustrated with VAR sometimes, although I think the World Cup is probably the best implementation of this technology. But, show someone from Morocco the tuck rule and be like, that started a dynasty.
The goals are worth so much, though, that when you've got a whole bunch of people celebrating, and then most of the people in the bar were so busy celebrating that they didn't even notice that it had been overturned.
Idea. I was on the table.
You were on the table with your arm up, just telling everybody.
I was like, this is my moment.
And I was just like, I told you, Quintano. I told you.
You did. Mike was giving me a whole lot of I told you so's on the goal.
I couldn't see anything. That smoke machine was thick.
The country has been overtaken by this in a way that's really charming. And it's not just the Scottish who are drinking too much. Mexicans are sticking their heads in cotton candy machines. I have been told of, but don't know anything about the Mexican Batman. I'm going to need some more information.
Oh, wait till you find out about Mexican Batman.
Well, go ahead. Tell me about the Mexican Batman.
Dan, the Mexican Batman is a cultural phenomenon that is happening right now. Somebody, a vigilante in Mexico.
Wait, Mexico has a real Batman?
Has a real Batman. There are thieves that are stealing motorcycles, and this Mexican Batman is catching them and taping them to light posts.
Holy shit.
With complete duct tape. Obviously, the eyes of the accused, or one of the eyes of the accused, has been blurred out.
It's two of the eyes of one of the accused, but four of the others with air. They have 8 eyes, none of which are covered up.
Is that because Batman killed that one?
Why have we covered up just the eyes of one kid when we're clearly accusing 5 of them of criminal behavior? Or the Mexican Batman is?
The Mexican Batman is, again, the jurisdiction is not ours. They do have different rules over there. Mexican Batman has other rules. But Dan, imagine vigilante justice. He's going out and not only finding these people that have stolen motorcycles, getting them, and then somehow, some way subduing them into duct taping them into a light post. I don't know if you've ever tried to do this, as with friends or whatever. You try to duct tape somebody and do stuff like that.
I have not. It will not surprise you to learn that I have not tried to do that.
Isn't that Spider-Man's move of leaving?
That's web, though.
It is, but it's webbing.
But that Batman doesn't generally leave them there.
Guys, I'd like to point out one inconsistency, perhaps. I know we all want to believe in Mexican Batman. Can we bring the picture up again? All right. You got the guy on the left. You got the guy on the right. You got the guy second from the right. The two. How do you duct tape 2 people? You sit still. Hold on. I gotta it's 2 of y'all. One of y'all have to get away. There's no way both of them.
There's a Mexican Robin.
Oh.
There's a Mexican Batman, Mexican Robin. Robin holds one, Batman ties the other one, gets the other one going, and that's it.
What do you
Batgirl.
think Mexican Alfred's name is? Is it Alfred?
Alfredo.
I would
You
think
had it right there.
I would think Batman's the project manager and Robin's doing the taping. I think Batman is like, no, I'm going to stand back here, and Robin's the one really.
No,
keeping
but
it.
Batman's got to keep the strength. He's got more strength than Robin does. Robin's frail and small and skinny.
He doesn't have that much more strength than Robin does.
He's the boy
does he?
wonder.
Come on, he has a lot more strength than
Ton more strength.
Robin.
Dan.
What are you talking
Have you ever
about?
seen him?
Have you seen Robin? You ever seen his legs? He's
but
got
then
his legs all
Yeah,
out.
but I mean, then he becomes Nightwing.
That's later, though.
That's much later.
We're talking about Robin right now.
He's the understudy of Batman for the moment. It's a long, prolonged period of time that he's fighting through being skinny until he's finally fit enough to be Nightwing.
Very weird relationship between Batman and Robin, between Bruce Wayne and what's Robin's real name?
Are we talking about Dick Grayson or Jason Todd?
Look, very weird. Very weird. I'm going to take this ex-circus freak kid under my wing.
Acrobat. He wasn't a freak. He was
in the
part of the
circus.
Flying
He went-
Graysons.
went
That's a
through a lot.
headlining act. They weren't freaks.
Yeah, went through a lot.
You think there are people in the circus who aren't freaks?
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Are there people in the circus who aren't freaks? Yes or no? Robin counts as a superhero, correct? Even though he's human and Batman is
What's his
human.
superpower?
But
Whoa. Batman's a superhero. He has no power.
No,
Yeah,
but
oh,
he
he
has
has power.
access. He has access to things. What does Robin have?
He's a Nepo baby.
Wait a minute. Is Robin a superhero or not?
No.
Well, he is, but he doesn't have superpowers.
He's a hero, but he's not a superhero.
He's dressed up like a superhero. He's wearing a cape.
Tiene pinta.
He looks ridiculous.
He has a baton, and apparently he's a trapeze artist. That's it. That's not a superpower. That's just a little nimbly-bimbly. Batman's got a superpower. You know what it is?
Wealth.
I'm bleeping
But
rich.
doesn't Dick Grayson and Jason Todd, don't they have the same access to the same wealth?
Yeah, Bruce Wayne's well.
Yeah. So
Probably got him on some kind of allowance.
Which goes back to the whole weird grooming situation that's happening. I don't feel
I don't-
comfortable.
yeah.
What did you
I
have to
don't
bring
feel
the G
comfortable.
word?
Grooming.
You have to bring the G word in
I
there.
don't feel comfortable. There's something going on
there was,
there.
I mean, this is a decades-old trope.
Take back what you
there,
said
there
about
was
Batman.
absolutely a gay subtext, especially in the 60s.
Take back what you said about Batman.
The ambiguously gay duo was inspired by actual Batman and Robin stuff.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Is the Batman and Robin relationship weird? And also, is Robin a superhero? I don't seem to have consensus on this. You guys, he's dressed up as a superhero. You guys are giving me a negative when you're just saying to me that Robin is he's Batman's administrative assistant. Like he's got no real superpowers. He's wearing a cape because Batman's just feeling generous. He's like, fine, you could dress up if you want to dress up, but you're not a superhero.
I bet you this is how it happened. One day they're at the Batcave and Batman's kind of surveying all his screens and stuff. And Robin comes in out of Batman's closet like, look what I found. And he's got the cape on. He's like, can I keep it, please? I'm like, fine, whatever.
Again with Robin's out of the closet. Again.
You're better than that.
You did that. You're better than
you're
this.
better than that.
You did this. You made the relationship something it's not, something I've never heard it is.
We're not covering new ground here with the Robin is gay theory.
I'm not saying he's gay. I'm saying that him and Batman have a very weird kind of like older rich man takes underprivileged youth into his house. Come on.
What's the age difference between them? I don't think of them as having a substantive age difference. Is there a substantive age difference between
has to be.
Batman?
Has to be.
There has to be.
I think it's pretty
Bruce
significant.
Wayne is the CEO of Wayne Enterprises. This guy's a circus freak. He's eating like leftovers, chicken bones and stuff.
He was an orphan.
Exactly. You know what they don't call orphans? Adults. They don't call adults orphans.
Chris, would you look up for me, please, the age difference between Batman and Robin? Because I think of them as peers, even though there's obviously a power difference dynamic.
I'm paying for everything, and now we're peers?
No, it's any running make in the NBA. We're like, oh, that guy's a Robin to the Batman. The power dynamic is very well established. It's Batman and Robin.
I got it. I'm not confused about the power dynamic. I'm confused about both the age difference and whether or not Robin's a superhero, because I think he's a superhero. Does he classify as a superhero? What's the definition of a superhero? He's dressed like a superhero.
And also whether there's a predatory relationship between Batman and Robin.
Well,
Oh, come on,
what is
man.
this
What are
guy
you doing? What are you doing?
The internet is saying in DC Comics, there's no single Robin age. They vary across different storylines. Generally, Batman is 10 to 20 years older than Robin's.
I mean, the nickname is the Boy Wonder. Not the Teen Wonder,
Not the Man Wonder.
not the Man Wonder.
And so now you guys wonder whether or not this grooming
It's like a Greg
situation-
Cody, Paul
Whoa,
Radke
I'm not.
situation.
I'm not.
It's like a Paul Radke,
Yeah,
Greg Cody
it
situation.
is a Paul Radke.
They're just
They had
hanging
a
out.
Batman and Robin thing going.
So since you guys are speaking of sidekicks, can you guys explain to me why it is that Bobby Marks is going on ESPN and he is saying that an analytics guy said to him that Jaylen Brown is the 7th best player on a team? And Jaylen Brown, not in reaction to this, but just in general, Jaylen Brown is saying that Stephen A. Smith is the face of an unethical network as this thing continues to escalate. But Bobby Marks is the analytics guy. Bobby Marks is the salary cap guy. Bobby Marks is somebody who is saying that he is talking to an analytics guy, and that person is saying Jaylen Brown is the 7th best player on a team. That's not right. That's not fair. You're quoting someone anonymously because no one's putting their name on that. No one in that sport would put their name on that analysis. That's just terrible analysis. But what's happening there?
Well, so I don't even know that Bobby Marks, and I happen to know Bobby Marks a little bit. I don't know that Bobby Marks is actually an analytics guy. He's a former front office guy. He's a salary cap expert, of course, from his experience in the Nets front office. I don't believe he's actually an analytics guy. And the part, so listen to this clip here, Dan. This is actually Bobby Marks made an appearance a few days ago on Sirius XM NBA radio. And here's Bobby Marks giving that anecdote.
There's mixed feelings about him when you talk to teams. The analytics of Jaylen Brown is not good. I'm more of an eye test guy. There are some people out there that look at that a little bit more deeper than what the eye test says. I had one, not an executive, but an analytics guy saying, well, yeah, we view him as like the 7th best player on a team. I was like, holy crap.
Oh my God.
I get it. There's a role for analytics and stuff, but I guess they call it, I joked, I said, I guess we call that strategy now. We basically changed the word. People got
7th best player on a team?
So I was like, wait a minute, that's a little bit of a stretch.
I heard former Coach of the Year Sam Mitchell getting in there with
That's
a
right.
strong opinion with just straight incredulity. Could not believe what he was hearing. Can you walk me through, Zaz, what you believe to be the assessment from the general public when they hear the phrase that someone is an analytics guy? Because I think at this point in sports, it's a slur.
Oh, yeah, it's so easy for random NBA fan to hear those words, and it just turns into, that's for dorks who don't play. You watch the game. Watch the game. It tells you everything you need to know about Jaylen Brown. Obviously, Jaylen Brown cannot be the 7th best player on any team. That's why analytics are stupid. And so as a result, Jaylen Brown continues just a tremendous offseason, crashes out on Twitter over this. And the funny thing is, so Jaylen Brown only heard the clip or like maybe read quotes from that clip from Bobby Marks. And Jaylen Brown did the thing that he likes to get upset with media about, where you say something and then you don't like the reaction to it, which is a very common thing that athletes then do, where they use the whole taken out of context, you know? And so the media, they're unethical, and you bash the media for stuff like that. And Jaylen Brown kind of did that here to Bobby Marks, where he went after Bobby Marks, when in fact, no. Bobby Marks is trying to say, I don't feel that way. So Jaylen Brown is doing the exact same thing that he chastises the media.
But I think something that's fair here, my favorite of those kinds of objections from athletes was Charles Barkley saying he was misquoted in his autobiography. That's the best thing I've seen on that front. But when Jaylen Brown says to Bobby Marks on Twitter, state your source, this part, I feel like if I'm an athlete, this is fair. If you're going to quote someone anonymously saying something that asinine, which is just beyond the pale, to say that Jaylen Brown, a finals MVP, multiple-time All-Star, is the 7th best player on a team, I understand why athletes don't want people to be able to hide behind that opinion without putting their name on it. And so I just want to ask you guys, I've used anonymous sources. I see the value in anonymous sources, but it's usually not for this. Anonymous sources are usually used in journalism for things that are dangerous. And we have cheapened it and cheapened it and cheapened it so much that Zaz now thinks that very often radio and TV people are using anonymous sources, that they're making up, that they're not actually sources, that it's just some person saying something, and you make it an anonymous source. And next thing Jaylen Brown's doing is he's calling ESPN an unethical network.
I think there's a lot to unpack here. Number one, Zaz, if you know someone who's ever created a source on air, would you let us know?
Say it again.
If you knew you're like
confusing, right?
You're saying
someone made up a source.
Radio and TV guys are making up stories and say, "Oh, there's a source," when there was no source. Would you tell us if you knew of someone who did that?
If I knew for sure, I think so.
So then what gives you the idea that it's happening if you don't know for sure?
Oh, I don't believe that here with Bobby Marks, by the way. Like, I'm not accusing
I know.
that.
I'm just saying in general. To me, that's such a wild accusation. I'm not talking about people on Twitter or some podcast or whatever. We talk about people who are getting paid to be behind a microphone, whether it's local radio or whether it's all the way up to ESPN. I cannot think of a single person who would create a story and then just say, I'll just blame it on a source that doesn't actually exist. That's a wild allegation.
But is there a difference between completely making it up and using someone as a source who really shouldn't be counted as a source?
Someone who works for a team? Yeah. To me,
anonymity is to protect that information from still coming in, and also to protect that source who, if you work for these organizations, they have rules. You can't talk to the media.
You can't talk to the media. So I'm a dinosaur. I came from a time where the only time I talked to Paul Coro was like, hey, are we playing pickup today? Paul Coro was a beat writer who covered the Suns back in the day for the Arizona Republic. So we just didn't talk. Nowadays, you got video coordinators and all sorts of people who can't wait to talk. Because
that's what I mean. Like, should that be counted as a source?
Yes, because they are giving you information from the inside that they would never give if it was on the record. What Jaylen Brown is asking for here is this kind of weird, hey, show me your papers. Like, no, the whole point of us getting an idea how these people think, and this is not everybody, this is one person who works in one department of one team, but that's how they view him. And what Bobby Marks was doing was, by the way, saying, I don't agree with this at all,
right? But
this is what people are saying. And he's not wrong in saying that the analytics do not love Jaylen Brown in a way that should be commensurate with what his reputation is.
To me, the real story here is very clearly Jason Tatum's the 8th best player on this team.
One of the things that is happening with the general diminishing of standards on how it is that you assess information, this, as a quote from Bobby Marks, okay, so you're talking to the salary cap guy who's outsourcing this particular information to a source that we don't know. We don't know how credible this person is. We don't know if it's an NBA coach. We don't know if it's somebody in the ticket office. We don't know anything about who the source is. I mean, you can shake your head all you want at this. It is asinine to say that Jaylen Brown, that analytics of any kind make Jaylen Brown the 7th best player on any team unless that team's the dream team.
You are fundamentally misrepresenting the facts. We don't have this person could be in the ticket office. No, he clearly says this person works in the analytics.
Said it's an analytics person.
Analytics department of a team. That's the credibility, Dan. Someone who got hired, who gets paid a salary with benefits, vision, dental, all that stuff, to do the analytics analysis
but I mean,
for the team.
That's terrible analysis. No one else
Dan.
is saying that. No one in the world is saying that except this one anonymous person.
Again, I would tell you that the concept that the analytics is not enamored with Jaylen Brown
that's
in that
the overriding
way
point.
That's
is
different.
Not as like it. That is a prevailing conversation. This guy's overrated. That's what
you can say that without saying that he's a bench player. That you could say that without saying that he's a guy who might not get in if you're playing in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs. He might just stay on your bench.
You're hung up on the wrong parts of this, right? That's my point. You're hung up on the wrong part. You can disagree with the analysis. What you cannot do is disagree with the credibility of the veracity of the source. We can't sit here and say, maybe it was a guy in the ticket office. Maybe it's a guy who's an intern. Like, no, it's not that.
I don't know how Bobby Marks does this with sources. I don't know. Like, this is such asinine information.
I know Bobby Marks. Bobby Marks would not be quoting the janitor who looked it up on ChatGPT. That's not what Bobby Marks is about.
And he's sharing it because clearly it has value. We're all talking about it. He's sharing it to be like, hey, this is a ridiculous thing, but it's something that is out there,
Right.
which is an interesting storyline. So it is providing value. It is from a source that he deems valuable. It's certainly a source that he feels like it's worth protecting.
It's probably, I'm sure that example that he gave there is the most extreme example from analytics people, but he's making the overriding point here that the reason that they haven't been able to come up with the trade that Brad Stevens wants for Jaylen Brown is because a lot of analytics people in these NBA front offices don't love Jaylen Brown.
Okay, so 200th best player in the NBA? That's what we're doing now? Okay, good.
So this is the part that's interesting to me, Dan. So he says this, and by the way, again, I got to stick up for Bobby. He says, I do not agree with this opinion.
He was so complimentary of Jaylen Brown.
Absolutely. Yeah. But obviously excerpts and aggregation, whatever. Jaylen Brown tweets out, analytics nowadays used to discredit and control narratives. Roll the ball out. None of these guys better than me on both sides. Who does he work for? Okay, who's controlling what narrative? This is the part I don't like is
they're just
when we
buzzwords,
don't
man.
agree with something, we're just going to point to a vast, massive conspiracy that's targeting me for some reason. Number two, he says, analytics have/are ruining the game. We're playing AI hoops.
That's his team. His team's at the forefront of all
Damn,
that.
Zaz, don't steal
I'm
my
sorry.
thunder.
I'm sorry. I got carried away.
You really stole his thunder. He had lightning and then thunder.
sorry.
You stole the thunder and we never got the
couldn't help
lightning.
it.
He's furious.
He's right.
He's defending Bobby Marks, who's wrong.
Bobby Marks is not wrong.
Stop
Bobby Marks,
doing this.
Bobby Marks is wrong for quoting this ridiculous thing from the set. It's just an asinine thing to say.
No, it's useful. It provides you some other opinions out there that help explain why Boston is having difficulty moving this guy, because I'm sure they'd like this problem out of there, and Jaylen Brown continues to crash out. I think this is very valuable information in terms of context as to how the analytics community views him and how his reputation may be a little outsized. We don't agree with it. I rate Jaylen Brown.
No one agrees with it.
But that's all right, though. This isn't like the prevailing thought in the analytics community. This is just merely a data point that helps explain why Boston is in this situation, which I think is helpful.
Pretend that I didn't say. I want to hear. I do want to hear what you were going to say.
Okay, so there's two quick responses. The quick one is analytics are ruining the game. If Bobby Marks had said, I talked to an analytics guy, and he says that Jaylen Brown is actually the most underrated player in the NBA. By their thing, he might actually be either the second or best player in the entire league. Would Jaylen Brown have the same opinion? No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. He'd be like, oh, that was great, right? He's saying this because he does not agree with what is being said. That's the fundamental part. But then when he says, ruining the game, I said, well, I mean, yes, there is a way where you can say analytics is ruining the game. Like, hypothetically, if you had this team that was playing at home in a Game 7 and they kept missing threes, but the analytics say, hey, this is a good shot, keep shooting it, rather than driving and scoring at the rim or drawing fouls and get to the free throw line. Yeah, I would say, hypothetically, the analytics are ruining that. And at that point, Jaylen Brown, if he were in that hypothetical situation, should stand up and say, no, guys, we're not going to keep shooting threes. We're going to take destiny into our own hands.
I mean, ruining is also subjective. There are plenty of people that have touted that they don't like the direction that the NBA is going. I think it's fundamentally changed the game the same way that analytics fundamentally changed baseball. That when baseball was invented, they didn't really consider the type of style that is played today. And the same thing with the NBA.
You guys are doing something here, though, that I think is getting lost. You guys think that what I'm doing here is defending Jaylen Brown. He is the second biggest victim here. The first, analytics guys. Because you just quoted one anonymously, and none of the others agree with this particular take. Like, nobody agrees with the idea that Jaylen Brown is the 200th best player in the league. And so when I pair that against everything that Dominique was telling you guys last week, where he listed one by one all of the reasons that Jaylen Brown is hurt and offended by the way that he's covered. And it's a long list of things. It's not two or three. It's years of slights that discredit this person and don't fix the discrediting when he wins Finals MVP. Nothing gets fixed there, and now we're talking about this as a story when the opinion being given is asinine, and most analytics people, all analytics people, would say that this is an asinine thing to say. Seventh best player on a team is just stupidity.
Dan, what's something you don't like to eat? Give me an example. Not you can't eat it because you have an allergy.
Olives.
You don't like it.
No, just a lot of people hate olives. Just trying to help you out.
He's helping.
You think I need help with foods I like?
You were looking up. When you're looking
You were
up,
looking
you're-
up.
you're searching
He was
for
filling the
something.
space.
I
Thank you,
don't
Chris.
love broccolini.
Okay, you don't love broccolini, right?
It's too stringy.
There are some people who do like broccolini, yes? But you don't like broccolini, right? What if someone came in and said, Dan, I hate broccolini. He's like, yeah, me too. It's terrible. Yeah, me too. Everyone who eats broccolini or even serves it should be put to death. Yep. You'd be like, whoa, that's an extreme standpoint. But we stand on we park our cars in the same anti-broccolini garage. That garage is massive, and that's a wing that you don't want to be a part of, but it's still the same garage. That's what this example is. The analytics people park their cars in the same garage of Jaylen Brown, overrated compared to what his reputation is. But then there's that one weirdo all the way over there who's like, he's the seventh best player on the team.
That's what I'm saying is you can't quote the weirdo as representative of the entire community.
But you should absolutely make mention to it. All right, so like people think that there's just like one analytics guy. There are a bunch of different analytical models that teams use. You know how when a hurricane is approaching and you see the spaghetti models and you're like, wait, this one model has it going to Portugal. That's weird. Well, it helps them create a cone of certainty, right? It's just one data point. And what you're listening to right now from Bobby Marks is perhaps that one spaghetti model that has it going to Portugal outside of the cone. It is just a standalone data point for an organization that uses several.
Except that when I'm going to the spaghetti models, all of them are credible. All of them. This is lunacy. This is a spaghetti model made out of actual spaghetti, trying to measure hurricane storms using some linguine strands.
But the credibility is he works for an NBA team.
Yeah, I think that maybe this person's model is wrong here, but there have been some times where that model has been incredibly right and a player has been incredibly undervalued. We don't know enough there. It is just a data point.
And it's not infallibility. That's what the thing that analytics carries that the eye test doesn't carry is that if someone watches Jaylen Brown, so that's guy's maybe a bench player for my team, he does not, with that opinion, then represent what the entirety of basketball eye test believes. It's just him. But when one analytics guy says something, all of a sudden it's analytics that's evil.
Maybe he's the Michael Burry of analytics guys. He sees something coming that nobody else does. Dan, would you have believed Michael Burry saying that the mortgage situation was going to crash in 2008?
You'd have been so stupid to pull your money from Michael Burry.
You guys can't give this credibility. You can't give it credibility just because Bobby Marks is repeating anonymously something. Like, you can't take this. You're taking it as a data point, and I'm telling you that's a contaminated data point. That's not a data point that's useful in any way. It's so far off in the extreme that yes, you can find crazy people in any occupation saying all manner of crazy things. This is a crazy thing to say. It should have no credibility.
I largely agree with you, but it is helping me shape context for the discussion around Jaylen Brown and how there's a discrepancy in how Boston values him, how most NBA fans value him, and the offers coming in. I think it's useful.
I think this outlier analytics guy who is saying he's seventh best on a team, I think that opinion is being taken. It's not even opinion. It's based on numbers and facts. Clearly, this model. I think it's being taken way too serious. Like, don't you think it's hey? The analytics people don't love Jaylen Brown the way everyone else may love Jaylen Brown. Matter of fact, there was one analytics guy who told me, based on one of their models, Jaylen Brown ranks 7th on the team. That's all that is, isn't it? I think it's being taken way too serious.
It's useless.
Dan, years ago, I remember watching NBA on NBC, and Bill Walton was on the call, and Dan Marley put his hand up and contested a jumper, and the jumper missed. And Bill Walton said, Dan Marley, one of the greatest defensive human beings who have ever lived. And at the time, I was like, what is this guy talking about? Well, he's not one of the greatest defensive human beings who's ever lived on the face of the earth. And it took me years to realize that's just Bill Walton trying to impress upon you, hey, he's a pretty good defender. That exaggeration is meant to hammer home the point, not necessarily be an actual verbatim kind of quotable.
One thing that I learned about Bill Walton in the 90s, he was quite polarizing.
Oh, they hated him.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't get him for exactly what Amin just said when he first started working on those broadcasts, and I'm like a teenager. I'm like, why is he trying to tell me Mark Jackson is the greatest passing point guard of all time? This guy's an idiot.
Right. And all he was doing was using hyperbole to drive home the point that, hey, Mark Jackson's a pretty good passer. Because he knows if I just say Mark Jackson's a pretty good passer, it just goes over your head. You won't remember that. But he has to go over the top with it. Now, Dan, this is the part where none of us have considered, and it's kind of ridiculous that we've taken us 35 minutes to get to this point. This anonymous analytics guy, he's got to be feeling good today, right? Like, they talk about me, baby. They talking about
But
me.
he can't say anything.
They can't.
He's like,
He's like
he's got to
Batman.
tell
He's like
somebody.
Batman.
did you hear about Bobby Marks? What he said? That's crazy,
He
right?
tells somebody.
Tony.
He's like, yo, you, that guy? It's me.
He's like Batman.
He's Mexican
like,
Batman.
Everyone's like, thank you, Batman. And Bruce Wayne's like, I'm right here. I did it. Oh, I can't take credit for it, though.
Dan, the chat is calling broccolini the rich man's vegetable.
I mean, did you go to the Dan Marley story because Zaz had previously stolen your thunder, so you took back your own thunder? Is that what you just did there with the only guy nicknamed in NBA history after Thunder?
You're a writer.
Well, I just think you did that. I didn't do that.
Kind of did it.
The Jaylen Brown situation, if I were him, I would be bothered. I think any of us would be. Like the rampant discrediting of an NBA champion and finals MVP seems to be unrelenting. It's also weird. It's simply strange. You've got somebody who is a very good player, and there are none of those who are the seventh best player on a team. There's no team in the sport that has a seventh best player who's anywhere near as good as Jaylen Brown. Even if I gave him all the shots, made him the number one option, and gave him the usage rate, there's no such thing as a seventh player.
But that's weird, right?
Chris Cody and Roy revealed this to me. And Roy, I don't know the context of what it is that you guys were talking about that revealed this about Chris Cody.
Yeah, Chris asked me what the sound from the first down for the Dolphins games were. And I said
it's just a noise I've made throughout my entire life. It's just like I just did it. Hoo-wah!
Yeah.
And to me, that's another Miami Dolphins first down.
Well, let's find out.
Hoo-wah!
Let's find out if your dad knows, because he's not a real moviegoer. Instead of impersonating the sound, do you have the actual sound? Greg Cody, do you know who's making this sound?
hoo-ah.
I do.
Clark Gable.
Come on.
It's the famous actor.
Rock Hudson.
Oh, this is great. He doesn't know it.
It's the No, it's the famous actor. And I got to pin his name down because I don't think
You should be able to say this immediately.
I don't think it's Robert De Niro.
No.
Hoo-ah.
But I think it's
In the neighborhood.
In the neighborhood. Give me a second.
Hoo-ah.
Robert De Niro.
Humphrey
Al Pacino.
Hey, there you go.
If someone said that in his headphones, you're fired.
Now,
No,
what movie?
nobody said
What
that.
movie?
It's APEC. What movie?
Streetcar Named Desire.
You No, you're not man enough to know the truth. Something like
No.
That's a few
That's
good
the one I
men,
bought.
and that's a few
brutal.
good men.
Good answer. Good answer.
And it's
That
not,
is
you're not
brutal.
man enough to know the truth. I
You
can't.
can't handle the truth.
Don't know.
That's
Don't know?
it's a different
Damn it.
movie.
Seriously.
Pacino was not in
You're
it.
not man enough to know the truth.
That was originally a line. Nicholson ad-libbed. They
Put
kept
it on the poll
that
at
was
Le
Nicholson.
Batard Show. Was Pacino in A Few Good Men? Was a blind Pacino?
Okay, who did he say? Who
That's
said
on a
hoo-ah
hot
in
tin
what
roof.
movie?
Let's keep going. Let's see how long it takes you to get.
Play it again.
I think did he win an Oscar? I think
Yes.
he won an Oscar
Yes, he
for
won
this.
Best Actor.
Yes.
Bull Durham.
No.
Good answer. Good answer.
Put it on the
Raging
poll.
Bull. Raging
Put it on the
Bull.
poll.
Raging
No.
It's a bull movie.
Just naming De Niro movies.
Red Bull. I don't know.
Put it on the poll. Was a blind Pacino in Bull Durham?
Chicago Bull.
And put it on the poll as well. Was a blind Pacino in Raging Bull? First of all, it's a really random thing to have stick in a dolphin.
I say it all the time.
No, but it's been for 30 years. That movie's 30 years old. I don't want to tell him what the movie is. Keep guessing, Greg. Keep trying to guess what the Al Pacino movie. How many Oscars has Pacino won? Because he
A Few Good Men.
you already guessed that, and we already told you that it's not A Few Good Men.
Okay.
And you're not man enough to handle the truth.
Right. Okay.
Classic line.
It's got a military theme to it. I just can't come up with a
It's
name.
not a military theme, but I think he's a former military guy.
Okay, that,
He was a colonel.
there you go. Colonel Sanders. I don't know. I'm never going to get it. I don't know movies.
Wow, it's his only Academy Award.
The
Greg doesn't know
scent
movies.
of a
Woman. See? I told you I was going to get it.
your son had no idea where that sound
Where I
was
get it
from.
from.
This is
really?
2 generations of idiot. Pop
No.
culture idiot.
I knew it was Al Pacino.
Greg, you cannot listen
said
to
De
what you
Niro.
just did for the last 4 minutes and say that that is some sort of expertise
Okay,
that you're bragging about.
First of all, I speak for moviegoers in general. Al Pacino and De Niro are always interchangeable. They're always mistaken for each other. They're the same person. They've
De
had
Niro
the
could not
same
have been the devil.
career. They've won the same awards. They're like the same people.
They were only in one scene together.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is here, start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is here, start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is here, start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is here, start of the day.
Every single night of his 11-year baseball career, Luis Arias has gone to sleep as a 300 hitter. Every single night of his 11-year career, only 11 players ever have done that throughout baseball history.
So, like, the first ever game he appeared in, he went like 1 for 3?
Correct.
That's how it happens.
That's the way you have to do it in order for that to be. And
You didn't go 1 for 4.
That's right. Can you look up for me, Chris? There's a player famously. The last name starts with a P. I need to know some of his history.
Peralta.
He finished. That is incorrect. He finished.
Polanco.
You don't know that, Dan, because you're asking for his
No,
name.
no, I know.
Pujols.
If I heard it, I'd know it, and I haven't heard it yet.
Podsetnik.
Every stat.
Brzezinski.
No.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nope. Well, you guys don't even know what I'm going to say yet. You're just guessing names
Perez.
with a P, and you're getting them all wrong. Incorrect.
Patterson?
Page.
Look up for me a player who finished with a career batting average of 299
Poindexter.
4 or something like that couldn't be rounded up. All he needed was like just one fewer out or one bloop single, and he would have finished with a career average of
Piazza.
300. No, all of those are wrong. It is not a player of very much fame. But I've been watching a ton of baseball
Ponzone.
lately. No, that was Sidney Ponzone. You think Sidney Ponzone was a 299 4-4 hitter? That's what you think is happening there. Chris Cody will look that up for me in a moment. But put on the poll as well at Le Batard Show. Is the bagpipe the worst of all the musical instruments? Yes or no? And if you have another nominee.
Harmonica's dumb as shit.
Okay.
I think Zaz had it. I think it was Albert Pujols, Dan.
It was not Albert Pujols.
Okay, I'm reading here. He had a
not
career batting average of 2.994
Told you.
near the beginning of the 2020 season, and which ultimately rounded up to 2.99 before he officially retired with a 2.96. So it was exactly what you mentioned.
No,
Knew
but
it.
It's not him, and it's not. Somebody finished their career in a way that couldn't be rounded up, and it was just short by percentages. Shams is saying right now on SportsCenter, he's saying that the Clippers and the Raptors are seriously engaged in trade talks on Kawhi Leonard. Today is Kawhi Leonard's 35th birthday.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
Go accordion, man. Like bagpipes. I think bagpipes are kind of cool. Accordion sucks, man.
What?
You see a dude with an accordion.
What?
Like, what
You are not a
doing?
fan of Carlos Vivas.
What are you
That's
doing?
for sure.
Or Weird Al. Have you ever heard Another One Rides the Bus?
It's got buttons.
Brum,
Yeah,
brum,
come on.
Ba-dum-bum-bum-ba-dum.
So you believe, put it on the poll then as well, worst musical instrument, bagpipe, harmonica, or accordion.
Harmonica's cool as hell.
Nick Saban plays the accordion. Tom Izzo plays the accordion. I think that you would respect them less if either of them played the bagpipes, I should say. For some reason, though, Zaslow is swallowing the G on bagpipes. He doesn't think it has a G. The accordion is a cumbersome instrument. How do we feel about the harp? Do we like
ethereal?
The harp?
You want to go back down memory lane? Harp does it.
Yeah, but it's the inefficiency of the thing is what bothers me. Like it's.
What do you want, efficiency, Dan? You don't want somebody laying there in a Greek, palace, ding, 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 ding.
No, I think part of the objection that we have here and why the harmonica does not classify in what it is that I'm talking about is all of these other three instruments, the harp, the accordion, and the bagpipes, they're just unwieldy.
I have a question. You keep saying harmonica. Is there a hismonica?
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Should there be a hismonica?
You're telling me when Rowdy Roddy Piper used to be escorted to the ring with dudes playing bagpipes, that shit wasn't cool?
Pretty lit.
Never saw anyone walk anyone down to the ring with an accordion, tell you what.
Jonathan Davis of Korn, a recent hot topic around these parts. He comes out occasionally with the bagpipes. Lit.
You haven't seen anybody led into the octagon with harps either. That's not. It's not a good instrument. What happened?
Oh,
We're all waiting for you to talk, and you're waving your hand like you're waving your hand around.
Pregnant
as if-
pause.
No, but
By the way, Dan, I'm not finding for the career. I'm finding multiple examples in single seasons. Prince Fielder did it in a single season. A guy named Jim Ray Hart did it in a single season. For an entire career, I'm struggling to find.
all right, I'm gonna go look.
Kirby
it up.
Puckett.
When we mentioned
AJ Puck.
SportsCenter and what Shams said on SportsCenter, Linda Cohn is retiring after a career of 3.5 decades, and I wanted to ask you guys if it's even possible anymore to do what she did. Is that extinct as an idea? The person who gives sports highlights becoming somebody who is a figure that you associate with a time, with a place, like as at the sports anchor in general. Is it even possible for anyone to come around now and be a sports anchor who is so distinctive that the person then has a 35-year career that is celebrated as something that is, special and memorable? Because when we talk about ESPN is a content company. This is a fairly amazing thing that I'm going to say. Most of their best content is not it's not produced in-house. It never has been produced in-house. Their best content is farmed out. But the best thing they've ever done is SportsCenter, and the thing that they've clung to is SportsCenter, and it made an assortment of anchors, international names. But one of the places where they have saved money in recent years, and you understand why, because they can be pretty interchangeable, is whatever the art of that is, has been taken to wherever its limits are, and I don't think people can go any further there. So you can just rotate people through and they can be serviceable and professional, but they're not going to be standouts anymore as personalities, I think. Do you think I have this wrong? Because that's the SportsCenter model in general, the highlight model. You're getting so much now faster than you need it at 6 p.m. or 11 p.m. or running all morning, that I don't think that as a career type is something that can ever or will ever again be that lucrative, obviously, or that kind of enduring.
I think you're right because, right now on ESPN, on SportsCenter, Randy Scott and Gary Streisky are
really funny.
Those guys
Best
now.
duo.
Mm-hmm. They are those guys. Like they really are the equivalent of those huge names from 25 and 30 years ago. But I don't think they come close to the recognition that, hey, anchors like Linda Cohn have.
Who's Batman? Who's Robin?
That's a good question.
This is a generational thing. It takes time to build nostalgia. SVP has become that in a time, and he was born. I know he was a little adjacent to that whole time sunsetting where these guys were essentially MTV VJs becoming stars, but SVP is a huge star, a tentpole attraction for ESPN. I think Randy and Gary are going to be that for a generation. I think that's one of the best SportsCenter duos of all time.
Gary's a filthy cheater. We did that go-kart race with Mina and Katie, and he went and he had like the go-kart people take the governor off his thing so he could go faster. We don't talk about that enough. Now look at this guy at the heights of media, but his roots will always be as a dirty cheater.
You are right, Mike, about Scott Van Pelt. I'm talking about the next generation being born now, people going into the career.
Oh, it's Randy
now.
and Gary. They are so good. They are fixtures. If you do, I don't know how many people in our audience do watch SportsCenter on the weekends, but for me growing up, that was always a huge deal, and they are tethered to the hip. They are a great tandem, and I think the years will be very kind, and I'm sure they're going to get big contracts. They are so good.
And
it
he's
is
a dirty cheater.
It is the equivalent of the Big Show. I mean, it is Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann, what they're doing.
You guys yawned at Kawhi Leonard.
No, I'm not yawning at all. I think that's big. We're going to have Pablo Torre in studio. I'm very curious to hear what he has to say on that. Yeah, he's here. Yeah, so be on your best behavior, Tony. You don't want that guy looking into your shit. But I think this is, a huge impact. Kawhi quietly had his best year ever. Despite all the injuries. I think he's a really – I'm curious to see what he goes for. I mean, given the uncertainty around him, given his age, given the injuries, and also he did just ball the hell out.
I mean, you can't go Scotty Barnes or Brandon Ingram there. Is that what you're doing if you're the Raptors? Like, what are you doing if you're the Raptors? What is Kawhi Leonard fetching at 35 years old today?
It's Ingram is the guy that they're naming in the trade rumors. Meanwhile, Dallas is supposed to be P.J. Washington, Klay Thompson, and some picks. But I want to be clear about something for everybody. There is no uncertainty about whether Kawhi Leonard can play basketball. Article 13 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement, which deals with cap circumvention, has a list of things that they can do for disciplinary issues. The one thing they can't do is ban you from playing. They can void the contract, but I don't think the league would do that if he were on another team. And they can obviously fine him up to $350,000. What they cannot do is say he's suspended for the year. So he's available. He's going to play basketball next year, guaranteed.
In all seriousness, why would Kawhi Leonard get in any trouble here?
Because he was complicit in the cap circumvention.
But why? But that's not his responsibility to be.
It's his responsibility to follow the rules. It's everybody's.
It's
everybody's responsibility to follow the rules.
A player can't ask for $1 billion and then the team says, all right, we're going to find a way to get it to you. That's on the team, no?
No, Article 13 makes everybody complicit in it. Like the only way he would walk away unscathed if they could prove that Uncle Dennis did this without Kawhi's knowledge. That Kawhi's like, wait, what is this? I don't know about any of this. But as long as he's complicit, he is eligible to get fined or disciplined or sanctioned.
What are you doing there, Zaz? You're thinking that somehow the player doesn't have any responsibility. He doesn't have to be the primary rule breaker. He doesn't have to be the rule breaker who gets punished the most. But why would you think that any player is allowed to simply circumvent league rules?
Because the way that I see it is, I don't see it as the player circumventing the rules. The team circumvented the rules. The player is not in charge of the salary cap. The player's responsibility is not to make sure everyone's cap compliant. The team is.
So, Zaz, if I sell drugs and then I hand you the money, here, Zaz, have $100. You didn't sell the drugs. You had nothing to do with it. But you know where this money came from. Does that mean you're completely innocent? I just accepted the money. It's on him. He's the one selling the drugs.
Frank DeMare played in the 30s and 40s. He's the only batter in MLB history that on his final at-bat of his career, his average dropped from 300 to 299. He ended with a 299.47 batting average. That's
Frank
the closest
Pomare.
I can find.
Frank Pomare?
DeMare.
Oh, not with a P.
No.
Huh.
Good work, Chris. Continue to search there, and we will see if I can find it or you can find
Brandon
it
Phillips.
before the end of the show. Before the end of the show today. So
Now, Pedroia did finish with a 299, but it wasn't close to the 49.
Kawhi Leonard going back to Toronto, where he won a championship with a team that is slightly better now than it was at the time, given what it is. Our assessment of Pascal Siakam.
$80 million of Jakob Poeltl would like to beg to differ.
So you don't think that Toronto team was slightly better than we regard it as when we say that it was Kawhi Leonard winning by himself, and you saw Siakam win, and Anunoby was on that team too, right?
Mm-hmm. That championship team was way better than this team. Way better.
They had Norman Powell also.
Norman Powell, Kyle Lowry,
OG, Siakam.
Marc Gasol
won a championship, and it's just regarded. It's so funny to look back on that championship, and because Clay and Durant got hurt, it gets discredited. It's a championship during this era of super teams and trios. It's a champion, one of the few that was won. It's Dirk and Kawhi who are given credit for sort of winning a team. Who was Josh Howard Dirk's second best player?
He wasn't on that
championship team.
So who
Jason
was it?
Terry?
Deshaun Stevenson? Like, who was the second best player?
Terry.
On that.
I know what LeBron would say.
Jason Kidd, Tyson Chandler, Pedro Stojakovic,
Jet was
Ron
great, though.
Butler. That team was Sean Marion. That team was loaded too.
Brian Cardinal and J.J. Barea really stick out to me.
When the Heat got tagged for salary circumvention, Juwan Howard didn't get in trouble, did he?
The contract was voided.
I understand.
Yeah, that's called getting into. He didn't get his
He
100.
still got the contract.
Someone else, like Washington, then came up with the money. But the point is,
Of course, it was voided because they circumvented the salary cap.
that's
Wasn't allowed.
But it's not like Juwan. You get to keep the $100 million, but you can't play for the Heat.
I agree that like the league can void the contract currently with the Clippers, but that actually benefits Kawhi Leonard. Go get more money somewhere else now.
For sure, because of the collective bargaining agreement, Adam Silver and the league are somewhat handicapped here on just how much they can penalize the Clippers, correct? Amin, are you not expecting at this point, and we'll have Pablo in here, are you not expecting a punishment that the public at large finds generally unsatisfying because they're limited in how much the penalty can be, even if Adam Silver calls it the cardinal sin of integrity damaging, when he's only going to be able to punish it so much, right?
I'm not. Yes. First of all, the answer to that is yes. There are limits, according to the collective bargaining agreement, to how much punitive measures you can take in this kind of situation, no matter how egregious it was. I'm not going to steal Pablo's thunder because Pablo's got some pretty big thunderbolts he's bringing with him. So I will defer it. I'll wait till Pablo comes and has that thunder moment, and then I'll jump in.
I
with my-
don't think there are thunderbolts, though, are there? There are only lightning bolts. There are no thunderbolts, correct?
Thunder's just a sound.
It's just noise. There's no bolt of thunder. It's just a sound, and Zaz stole it from
It is a
you
play on,
earlier. Is it? It's a play on? Okay.
You hear the thunder, and then the lightning happens.
Nope, other way around. You
Close.
see the lightning.
You weren't paying attention in science.
Like I said, the lightning comes, and then you hear the thunder. And depending on how many seconds you count the seconds, Dan, that's how many miles away it is.
So hold on a second, though. You thought for a second there that first the sound came to warn you of the lightning. It wasn't the lightning that was producing the sound?
As the words were coming out of my mouth, I was thinking, I'm not sure if that makes sense.
That was a Dusty May situation right there. Right? When you asked him, hey, was winning it better than losing it?
He understood what I meant.
Thank you for bringing up Dusty May, because Mike Ryan has been reporting, has been asking questions, has been wheeling and dealing, and he found out that that Dusty May thing, which came out of the sky like a thunderbolt, the Dusty May thing that none of us were expecting, Dusty May to Dallas, I think could have been predicted by Dusty May's appearance on our show when he was saying, among other things, I don't really get to coach anymore here in college. Like, it's about everything else other than coaching. It's a CEO job, but I'm not actually getting to do the parts of this job that I love the most.
It's a great move for Dusty May. I think it's a good spot, teaming with Masai Ujiri, and you have a superstar that you can build around. And if he flames out, if he gets an F- grade, he can always go back to the college game and get whatever job he wants. I think it's a brilliant move. I did some digging and talking to some people. I'm pretty sure this move came together in South Florida because Masai was spotted in Miami that weekend, and so was Dusty May. He was in town recruiting, and I have a friend, Peter Ariz, who now works with Kane's Pulse, and he was talking to people in the industry. You may find this interesting. Dan, Dusty May was calling on potential recruits the morning he took the Dallas job. To the very end, he was still recruiting for Michigan.
What a pro.
It's his job. He was doing his job till the very end.
Loves the game. You love the game?
Zaz don't love the game.
So you have to call those. You have to call those kids and be like, "Hey, by the way, whatever I said to you this morning, I'm leaving."
Yeah.
Never mind. he just hit him at NVM.
We've been talking a lot about just how crazy the college landscape is, where you're recruiting 17-year-olds with money. You're having to deal with their parents in a way that is a little bit difficult and is throughout sports. I will tell you that the Mike McDaniel-Tua situation started to come apart because McDaniel wanted Tua to line up 3-year contract. They were supposed to line up together, and Tua's dad got involved in a way that fouled up everything that they were trying to do there. That is a plague in college sports right now, when the family gets involved around the money, and it's something that is making these coaches really not like the job very much, because the job has become about an assortment of things that they never could have imagined when they got into coaching. Dusty May could not have imagined the idea that the money problems would be more in college than they are in the pros, because the pros have a structure and a system that makes the money fixed, and college sports don't have that. So I understand why it is that Dusty May, the timing of what he did and the job that he chose, because the thing you need to do if you're a college coach is make sure you're lined up with a young superstar. That's the job you have to take, even if you're coming off of a championship. You just have to get lined up with whoever the young superstar is, and you're coming in after Dallas has already cratered. I just don't know how much difference you can actually make as a college coach in that league of any pedigree whatsoever, coming into that league when what you have in the conference is OKC and San Antonio.
Scott Podsednik.
How much of a difference can any coach make? Like when Dusty May is hired, you are getting the college coach that has the most sterling reputation at the moment, right? It would either be him or just Tom Izzo, but Tom Izzo is older. If you're going to entrust your Tom Izzo is older, and when he was up for the Cleveland job, he just couldn't even get a hold of LeBron James in order to ask him, hey, should I take this job? Are you going to be around? He could not even reach LeBron James because of how the power works in the NBA versus college. But when I say Dusty May, obviously it's a name that gets all of your attention, but do you guys believe that he's going to make a substantive difference in Dallas, or that a coach of any kind? I'm not even saying this as any kind of indictment of him, because he's got the most sterling reputation that you can have right now. In fact, I wonder how Juwan Howard feels, the aforementioned Juwan Howard, to see what Michigan did as soon as they got rid of Juwan Howard, when he was handed over the things that you needed to the same things Dusty May got.
Well, Dan, you just answered your own question. You had Juwan Howard, who wasn't that good of a coach. You bring in Dusty May, who's an excellent coach and an excellent recruiter, and they win the national championship. Right now, he's moving up to the next level. He's proved at every level he's been a winner. Now he's going to get connected with Cooper Flagg and what they're doing in that front office with Masai Ujiri. And it's like, yeah, it's coaching is super important. You look at Kenny Atkinson, what he didn't do, what he failed to do against the Knicks in that whole series in the Eastern Conference. And it goes to prove, if you've got a good coach that knows what he's doing and is timely and can make adjustments on the fly, you pay that guy whatever he wants, because he's going to end up taking you to where you want to go.
Historically, it's always good to follow Jason Kidd.
Yeah. I don't agree with what Tony is saying there, though. I mean, Kenny Atkinson, when he got there, unlocked Evan Mobley, and then it fell apart after that. But when Atkinson was hired there, everybody was telling me not only what a good coach he was, how he had changed what Cleveland was from a 4 seed to a 1 seed because specifically of what he was doing on offense. You think there is something that Dusty May or any college coach can do that offsets the advantages that OKC and San Antonio presently have in that conference?
Yeah, what are you doing with college coach? I think Dan Hurley is a tremendous coach, and he can make an impact. I think Dusty May has proven, having just beat Dan Hurley, that he is a really good coach.
I don't dispute that he's a really good coach.
So you don't think that a really good coach has an impact?
Dan, this is a lottery team. This happened when the Warriors got Kevin Durant. Everything. Well, why are we going to even build a team now? We just quit back. No, that's what you do. You hire a coach and you build and you add players and you trade for players, and then one day you get to this place. We're dealing with it right here in Miami, where there's so many people who rush to a microphone or a camera to let us know, oh, this is a terrible deal. They're not going to win a championship. It's like, that's not how this thing works. It's not, hey, I did this deal and now watch all of my dreams come true. It is an ongoing process, and you knew they needed a head coach. Obviously, Dusty May made enough of an impression on Masai Ujiri, who's a pretty bright guy, to say, this is my guy that I want to lead my very young team that's led by a guy who's 20 years old in Cooper Flagg.
So when Stan Van Gundy comes on with us and he says that if Greg Popovich had been coaching the Spurs, they wouldn't have done anything more than what they did in that series. Greg Popovich, widely regarded as the best there is. I still think you guys are assigning way too much value to what it is that Dusty May's name recognition is going to do for the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not saying that he's not going to help, and I'm not saying that he's not a good coach. I'm saying that what is the talent disparity with the two young teams in that conference is impossible for any coach to overcome.
But Dan, you're assuming that that's going to remain. We already seen Oklahoma City start pawning off pieces because they've got to get their salary in order. That to believe that OKC is going to be awesome and they're just going to stay together forever and ever and nothing is ever going to go wrong.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the distance between the top of that conference in Dallas is so substantive that it cannot be corrected by any man.
Yes, it can. You know how it can be corrected? When they have to trade Jalen Williams because they can't afford him. That's how it gets corrected, when players leave.
If that's the attitude, why try anything? The way that you combat it if you're Dallas is, let me get Masai and let me get May.
I'm going to get two program builders in Ujiri and in Dusty May who know, all right, we're in a separate timeline, right? OKC and San Antonio and whoever you want in the West is on one timeline. We're a couple of years behind that. We don't have the pieces now, but we've got the guys in place that in a couple of years, maybe we could take on a big contract or two.
We talked about this when the Giannis trade happened. The only guy still on either the Bucks or the Suns 5 years ago. That's not 100 years ago, 5 years ago. Devin Booker. Within 5 years, every single person on both of those rosters has been traded or left via free agency. So this idea that, oh, man, how could they compete? Like, life finds a way.
Let me go back to what it is that Amin was saying here about Giannis and the specifics of you guys doing Fast Take last week based on Nick Wright immediately deciding that upon the making of the trade that what the analysis should be is predicting each round of next year's playoffs before anything has been constructed. Nick Wright got out there very quickly with the idea of they might win a first-round series, they might win a second-round series, but not a third-round series and not the finals. I'm just wondering what it is about today that makes people so forgetful when 3 years ago we would have been saying San Antonio and Miami are the best team builders, organizational builders that there are in the sport. And Eric Spoelstra's peers were voting him the best coach in the NBA. Can you explain to me, beyond Michael Wilbon just dismissing Giannis's ability to play anymore, can you explain to me why it is that people are so forgetful that the timelines now erase not just 30 years careers, but stuff that was happening 3 years ago that we were talking about? Not understanding or believing how it is that the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler as an 8 seed beat Giannis and got to the finals, and we were all talking about team building. How and why is it that people get so forgetful so quickly? Like, what's happened to the take that Nick Wright, who's really good at the take, has to get in immediately with the analysis of next year's playoffs when we're a week removed from this year's playoffs?
Well, a couple things. There's a lot more value in being the first one right than the first one wrong. No one cares about the first one wrong. If you're the first one right, Nick Wright was the first one right.
Not on this, though. Like,
on anything.
But predicting next year's playoffs?
On anything.
Dan, it's June.
Okay.
He's got a good point there.
No, but wait a minute. Chris, Giannis was traded. Like, that can't be
So
your...
he's giving a take on Giannis.
But that can't be your analysis. Like, your analysis cannot be predicting the next 4 rounds of next year's playoffs in June because you don't have anything else on somebody being traded. So you're going to predict. You don't know who the opponents are. You don't know anything, but you don't know the roster construction. You know nothing except a player was traded, and the first thing you're going to do is fast forward 9 months?
He said a lot on the Giannis trade. I think this is just one of those things, and I had heard him occasionally couch things by saying as presently constituted, which he's not wrong. Miami Heat have a lot of work to do when it comes to this roster.
They don't even have a full roster. They have to forfeit every game.
Right. I think it's possibly a fair thing to say that this is going into this, at least first half of the season, probably going to be the worst team they pair around Bam and Giannis. They got their work cut out for them. I also don't think they're done.
The second part, the reason that I think people like Nick Wright are doing this is, and obviously I'm biased from this perspective, I think there's a very anti-Miami sentiment out there. I think there's a very anti-Miami sentiment.
I thought some of that was weird, though. There seemed to be a rooting for and disappointment that he didn't go to Boston in a way that I thought was strange. Like that he erred in not forcing his way to Boston. I thought it was weird to absorb that coverage where it seemed like there was cheerleading on behalf of some people. This happens in the media all the time. Some people are just rooting to be right on what it is that they have already said, and it skews their perspective. So a lot of people thought he was going to Boston, but I also found the next part unusual. There was a bit of cheerleading there. I mean, did you see cheerleading for Boston more than an anti-Miami sentiment?
No, I think it was mostly anti-Miami, but I did see the cheerleading for Boston. But that's skewed, Dan, because we have a lot of people in the media who are from the Northeast. Either they went to Syracuse or they're from Boston or they're from New Hampshire or somewhere like that. And so obviously there's a vested interest in them to see their favorite team get this great player. But to your point about anti-Miami sentiment, it's because people like this show have often touted Pat Riley's whale hunting skills. And they're sick of hearing about it. And for the longest time now, it's like, oh, what has he done for you lately? I thought he was this big, bad Pat Riley throwing rings on the table. And now he lands the whales. Like, damn, all that criticism that we've had over the last 7 years or so has been moot. But I would point to this. Pat Riley's first big move was to get Alonzo Mourning in 1995, right? Then he gets Shaq in 2004. That's 9 years, right? Then he gets LeBron 6 years later in 2010. Then he gets Jimmy Butler 9 years later. Excuse me, no.
19.
Yeah, 2019, 9 years later. And now he gets Giannis 7 years after Jimmy Butler.
Lines up.
I would say right on time, baby. All that he lost his touch stuff out the window. And that's why these people are angry, because now they're proven to be wrong.
That's a great point about the timeline. I think the only thing that differentiated this era of Heat basketball with all the other ones is they were consistently contending outside of maybe one down year where they even failed in the lottery. They got Michael Beasley. They ended up flipping him. But this is the longest stretch where they haven't really mattered as much within their own conference.
I don't know. I disagree with that, man. Over these last 6 years, they were in the finals twice. Like that's
make it 4 years.
I'm confused though. I'm confused by the forgetfulness. Is the thing that is strange to me.
Miami fans need to stop with the finals stuff. We don't say it with Phoenix. We don't even say it with Dallas, and they were in there more recently. Stop with they were in the bubble NBA finals. Just stop it. That's ancient history.
You think the stretch from 2015 to 2019 where they missed the playoffs twice was more relevant than this past stretch?
Yes. I thought they were better.
Dan, to answer your question about the amnesia, it's this thing in our hands right here, right? It's instant gratification. It's now. And that has totally erased the concept of history or context or any of that. None of that matters. And it's not just a basketball thing. It's across all sports. I get into it all the time with Chris Whittingham in our soccer chat because Chris Whittingham doesn't believe soccer happened pre-9/11 somehow. And I'm like, no, these things happen. It's real. They were great players. Not everything that you're seeing right now is the best that has ever been done. And pick up a book or watch some old film once in a while.
Except for Messi. Messi's very clearly the best thing that's ever happened.
No.
I loved Zlatan's quote the other day where he was talking at the time of Messi has scored 5 goals in 2 games. And Zlatan is like, I did not score any goals in 2 World Cups.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do. There's a Canadian dude right now that has more knockout round goals than Cristiano Ronaldo has in his entire career. It's a very difficult sport, and it's not like you get a crack at it every year the way that you do with others.
Let's talk for a second, though, Amin, about how you feel about the precision of the Japanese today as they go against your beloved Brazil. Because when I look at the countries who are not supposed to win the World Cup, I'm not even talking about Cape Verde, which is the smallest entity to ever get this far in the World Cup, smaller than all 50 of the United States. They've got 525,000 citizens. But when I fear teams, what I end up fearing is the athleticism of the African countries and the precision of the Japanese. Are you worried, as somebody who loves Brazil and watches Brazil and celebrates the Brazilian soccer team more than you do even basketball, are you worried about today?
Not in the slightest. You know what I'm worried about, Dan? What? I'm worried about the monster that is going to emerge out of me. Because there are a lot of people who watch me do this show and do other shows, and they think they have a pretty good handle on Amin. Oh, when Amin's passionate about something, newsflash, I'm faking it. Every time you see me get worked up here talking about, the Giannis or the Heat or whatever, I'm not really passionate. I'm just talking. When it comes to Brazil.
You're that into Brazil?
Oh.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for explaining the show.
You can't say that every time you sound passionate, you're not actually passionate.
He's Bill Walton, Dan. The hyperbole is what it's meant for. Are you not listening to the man?
This is so he can come in and contextualize how much he cares about Brazil.
I care about Brazil in an unhealthy way. I was watching the Brazil versus Haiti match, minding my business. I'm chiming into the chat like, hey, guys. And these guys are like, oh, you're supposed to be really proud. And I went ballistic. Yeah. I went off on everybody in there. And then at the end, I said, if you don't like it, you can start a new group chat or just blame Mike Ryan because he's the one that brought me here. I did not ask to be a part of this.
There is a chance that Amin totally crashes out today because even before the tournament in the preview episodes, I was like, look out, if Brazil plays Japan, that is a very tricky opponent. Now, Brazil, I think the last few matches has settled in. Their identity's good. Vinicius is playing incredibly well, but they kicked Scotland and Haiti's ass, right? They high-press Scotland into pure hell. the high press is not going to be as effective, I think, against Japan, who is very skilled, very good with the ball at their feet, very good at dribbling through traffic. So I do think that this is going to be a really tricky test for Brazil.
My thing is this. You could argue that Spain had a pretty underwhelming group stage. I haven't heard anybody doubting of Spain the way they doubt Brazil. You guys love to. This is the worst Brazil. I've had to hear that one. This is the worst Brazilian side in like 40 years or 50 years, whatever, or ever. That's the crazy one, man. I remember 74.
It's fair because they're still counting on Fabinho, and they don't have like a go-to
what?
striker.
See,
you don't remember 74. You weren't born in 74.
You know why, Dan? Because I care about this shit. I want. Hey, Chris Whittingham. Fire up YouTube. It's all there. You don't have to just say, oh, it happened 4 hours alive. Oops, I don't know it. This is your goddamn job, Chris Whittingham. This is your job. You should take it seriously like I do. I take this shit seriously.
What year were you born?
1979.
What do you regard as the most dangerous situation you've placed yourself in? Because you were almost stabbed, right?
Yeah, and the guy said, I always bring my gun to work because it was in a dodgy neighborhood in Atlanta, and he goes, but I forgot it. And he goes, you guys are so lucky I only had my knife, and I was just going to stab you. That was a bad trip. Me and Lil Rel Howery, that was the first prank he ever filmed. He never did pranks, and he was like, yeah, I got this. Yeah, it'll be easy. And he was miserable the whole time we filmed. He didn't know how stressful like pranking feels. It feels very, very uncomfortable. So much more than a soundstage or a set. So we had this bit where our characters do drugs the night before. We're playing with a Chinese finger trap. We pass out unconscious from doing like this cornucopia of drugs accidentally. And we wake up with our penises stuck together in a Chinese finger trap. And so the prank was we ran up to this guy on the golf course, asked him to get us out of the Chinese finger trap, and then we went. Ki Tao, my director, he's like, we're shooting in Atlanta. We should go to like the hood and go to like a hood, like a ratchet ass barber shop, like to get a big reaction. And I was like, great idea. And we went into this black barber shop in a precarious neighborhood in Atlanta, and the barber went into, because we revealed it. Ki Tao goes, reveal like that your penises are stuck together. Like don't have them see it at first. So me and Rel like walked in like all weird, and the barber's like cutting a guy's hair, and he's the proprietor of his own shop. You know, he takes pride in his shop. And we slowly revealed like gay magicians. We were like, ta-da, like a Cirque du Soleil. We were like, do you have scissors to cut us out of this? Our penises are stuck together. And he thought we were just eccentric perverts on the loose in his establishment, in his neighborhood. And he snapped. He went into, his eyes turned red, like cartoon red. And he was like, oh, hell no. And he started looking for something, which I found out later was his gun. And then he's like, fuck, God damn it. I knew I left something at home. And, you know, Georgia is like an open carry state. My friend got arrested because he had weed on him and guns. And I was like, did the gun charge get? And he goes, no, all the guns I have are totally legal in Georgia. That's weed is a felony. Went to jail for just the weed, and guns are, they're like, guns. So he grabs a knife, starts chasing us out, and me and Rel can barely run because we're joined. It was a prosthetic. It wasn't a real cocks, but it was like this stretchy, realistic-looking prosthetic double dildo Chinese finger trap. And we're like harnessed together, so we can't even run. And Rel is running for we're running for our lives, literally. And the thing snaps. Rel like rolls under a car, and I look, and I had my security like was across the street. This guy that looked like Blade, and I go. And our safe word was popcorn, but I was so nervous I forgot the safe word, and I just said goosebumps. I don't know why. I was like white out with fear. Like I was just like goosebumps, goosebumps, goosebumps. So this guy that looks like Blade, who's like armed to the teeth across the street, he's like, goosebumps. He's like goosebumps. I'm like the guy, and I point to the guy's knife. I was like, popcorn, popcorn.
if you would like to help the people of Venezuela, there was an obvious calamity, 2 massive earthquakes on June 24th, just 39 seconds apart, a 7.2 and 7.5, and the visuals out of Venezuela are just unfathomable.
7.2.
You've got all sorts of weird stuff happening with the earth. I was not aware that Cuba could have earthquakes. There was one felt downtown here in Miami in Cuba. But what's happening in Venezuela is their structures are in no way built for this because it'd been more than 100 years since they'd gotten an earthquake of any kind, and then they got 2 back-to-back like this. So there are thousands of people missing, and there are people sleeping in the streets because they don't trust the structures. So they're sleeping outside because some of the buildings that are still up are buildings that are, just not trustworthy. And in South Florida, we have a huge Venezuelan population. If you would like to help here locally, we have a couple of places where you can do so. UnitedWayMiami.org, foodforthepoor.org, and globalempowermentmission.org. I will give all of those again in the event that you wish to help, because if you are watching any of the video coming out of Venezuela, it's just unbelievably horrific. And you've got tens of thousands of people unaccounted for. You've got a whole lot of folks in Miami who work in rescue going to Venezuela. Obviously, the amount of time to find survivors, if not already having dwindled, it's almost gone, being able to find anyone who's still surviving. But if you want to help, globalempowermentmission.org, UnitedWayMiami.org, and foodforthepoor.org, because what you're seeing there in terms of video is a calamity that is unspeakable. And if you just from one moment to the other lost people that you cared about in something that catastrophic, it would obviously be something that hits you where it hurts. So help if you can, and I will transition awkwardly out of that into some more of the sports news of the day. Zaslow was saying during the break that there was a flurry of NBA news over the course of the last hour. Before we get to this latest flurry, one of the things that I wanted to get to, congratulations to Al Horford, 20th season, going into a 20th season with the Warriors, which is kind of crazy. And I wanted to ask, do you have any idea why the Pistons traded Isaiah Stewart to the Grizzlies? Like, what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, they were getting return on value. Stewart is probably not going to get a much higher return than they got right there. Duran is who they're locked in on. They're going to pay him, so you got to clear out that money. And then they're able to go out and pursue Isaiah Joe, who gives them shooting. I think, look, the Pistons free agency off season has just started. They're going to be aggressive with a lot of moves. Norm Powell is a name that's been linked to them, and it would help them tremendously. But, yeah, you got to give up stuff sometimes to get stuff.
What is the other news here that we have had over the last hours as?
So free agency officially opens tomorrow, but players are starting to opt in and out of contracts. So James Harden has opted out of his $42.3 million final year of his deal for next season. I would assume it seems that nowadays when you opt out of the final year, it's because you're going to restructure, you're going to sign an extension with said team. I would imagine that is going to be the case with James Harden in Cleveland. Zach LaVine in Sacramento is opting in to his $49 million player option. I would imagine that the Kings would, I'd imagine they're going to try and trade him. And you also have Draymond Green, who is opting out of the final $27.7 million in his deal. And certainly that's one that you look at where you're like, okay, is that Draymond Green willing to take more money but less per year? Because there's a lot of smoke as far as them potentially going after LeBron James.
And not just LeBron James. Anthony Davis has been linked also to Golden State. So this is Draymond doing the ultimate team thing. Usually, like you said, an opt-out is because he's going to sign a longer deal that guarantees him more money. In this case, I'm not even sure that's going to happen with Draymond, not because he's not deserving, but this is his opportunity to give Golden State a real leg up in bringing in some reinforcements.
I know you guys talked about this some last week, but when LaMelo Ball goes for what LaMelo Ball goes for, and you just mentioned Anthony Davis, Is the Dallas trade of Luka Doncic somehow even worse now in retrospect than it was, given our visceral reaction to the fact that all you got back was essentially Anthony Davis, who no longer plays for you and now is going somewhere else? You didn't get anything for Doncic.
But they got Cooper Flag.
Well, that has nothing to do
No,
with the
they
deal.
didn't.
That has nothing to do with that deal.
They
got Max Christie, though.
They traded Luka Doncic. Think about what LaMelo Ball went for, or even Giannis. While you're at it, think about the number. You've got the equivalent of 7 first-round picks going for Giannis. We've talked before about Desmond Bane going for 4, Bridges going for 5, Rudy Gobert going for 5, and Doncic sits in the middle of that as something that Dallas gets nothing for.
But Dan, this is the day of. The day of, we were saying this is awful because even if Anthony Davis can stay healthy, when you trade a guy like Luka Doncic, 25 years old, 5-time All-NBA first team, you have to walk away with multiple picks. That was the day of. And that was me not knowing whether Anthony Davis was going to get hurt or not, and obviously ultimately traded.
You knew.
You did know. I saw Chris Cody's eyes light up during the YouTube break because I think he just realized that Eric Andre is on South Beach Sessions, and you're a big Eric Andre guy, right?
I'm very encouraged by that clip I saw. I was very worried when I saw him on the calendar last week. I was like,
Why?
oh no. I was like, what's Dan gonna? He's gonna ruin Eric Andre for me. It's gonna be like an hour of just him crying about his saddest moments. But luckily, we got a dildo with a Chinese finger trap story. So I'm feeling good. I'm gonna listen on my way home today.
It's a good story, right? That story that
I was
he
also
told.
scared. When I saw it on the calendar, I'm like, this can go one of
Don't
two ways.
do it, Dan!
Either Dan's going to ruin him or Eric's going to show Dan his dick.
Did you see it?
Did you get to see it?
I did not get to see it. No, but he told.
So you ruined him.
He told stories involving his penis, though, and being in a dangerous situation in a barber shop while locked penis to penis with a finger trap with a friend of his while doing pranks. He also. He is an anxiety riddled person, which is a place that I could have ruined the Eric Andre interview. But one of the things that he said that was interesting, and I encourage you to listen to South Beach Sessions because it was a lot of fun to talk to him, and he was unusually vulnerable. But he's sort of slapping his forehead on, I don't understand why I saw some sort of nobility in not taking a pill for my anxiety. Like, I've been doing all of this work. I've lived with this anxiety for so long, and all I had to do was get properly medicated for it, and it managed to even me out in a way that doesn't make me any less funny. So where is it that you became a fan of Eric Andre? Because I loved him just in Gemstones. I loved his character in Gemstones, but you love his prank shows, right?
The Eric Andre show is where I really fell in love with him. I had seen him before that, but the Eric Andre show. Did you consider doing some Eric Andre show antics in your interview with him? Like maybe just a zebra walks out in the middle.
Did you?
No.
Oh, so Dan, true story. The original pitch I had for Oddball was an NBA version of the Eric Andre show. And I wanted to do that, and I wanted it to be out there. And then Middle Arc happened, and here we are. Yeah.
As a Pulitzer Prize-winning media company, is that what you
You're
meant?
welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And then Meadowlark happened, and here we are with a crazy sound? Like, what does that mean? Meadowlark happened to you?
Yeah.
It's Meadowlark's fault that you weren't able to do an Eric Andre basketball show.
Yeah.
It was your show, though.
One would think.
Keep our head on the ball, guys.
Yeah.
Is there any other NBA news that's worth chronicling here? Like the opening of free agency, what are the big movements that we are expecting?
Why are we burying the lead? We have 2 federal indictments. Malik Beasley and Ed Davis, who hasn't played in the league in quite a while, which is kind of weird. How'd they catch him up? But Malik Beasley, Dan, this was one of the things I was coming in here hot to try. I was like, you know what? You know what's an off the beaten path option for the Miami Heat? You know who's still out there? Great shooter, Malik Beasley. And then this happened, and now it's like, I don't think he's on the table anymore, guys.
Well, and also over the weekend, you had the Hornets make another trade that a lot of people didn't see coming with Miles Bridges going to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what the Hornets are doing.
I love it.
And I think they're going to get Jaylen Brown.
They are not in the Jaylen Brown sweepstakes. That's according to Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe.
All right.
You guys love what Charlotte is doing, but they are coming off of their most relevant season since Jamal Mashburn. Like they
Whoa, purple shirt guy with like a word.
Kemba Walker did not win a playoff series.
This Hornets team has never been to the playoffs.
Like neither is LaMelo
LaMelo
Ball's never played
been
in a
to the
playoff game. Like we talk all the time. Like we did this with Jimmy Butler, right? Where the Heat, they should have traded Jimmy Butler a year ago. You waited a year too long. I think the Hornets are making very proactive moves here. They finally got a year out of LaMelo Ball where he played 72 games. The 3 years before that, he played 47, 22, and 36 games. This is the definition of selling high on a player who never plays and has not appeared in a postseason game.
And you got something for Miles Bridges, too, which after the last couple of years, you didn't think you would ever get anything for him. You were able to buff him up a little bit and then get him out the door.
And they got two good players, two guys, Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal. But when the LaMelo Ball deal happened, I was outraged. Yeah, that's what I was outraged about. Naz Reid got traded. I thought the whole point of Julius Randle getting traded was now this is Naz Reid's time. He's going to be their starting four. He might be an all-star caliber player. And he goes out the door. I was staggered.
It's a great trade for
Staggered
Charlotte.
that the Timberwolves would do that.
It's a great trade for Charlotte.
Is that A-Rod? What's happening there? Because A-Rod, as soon as A-Rod got there, before all of that arbitration stuff started happening with the owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves, A-Rod was said to be involved with, the 5 draft picks traded for Rudy Gobert. What is happening there? I'm assuming that a lot of people are wondering, well, how is that going to work? LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards together.
Tim Connolly is something of a riverboat gambler. He likes big, bold moves. The ability to give 5 first-round picks up for Rudy Gobert is because A-Rod said, yes, be bold. And Tim Connolly, like, finally, someone lets me go wild here. A lot of people are excited, Dan. They've been targeting LaMelo Ball for a while. Minnesota has. Like they look at him. They obviously needed a point guard. Well, because Anthony Edwards having to do so much playmaking takes a lot out of him, not only offensively but also defensively. He doesn't have as much energy on the defensive end. So LaMelo Ball, as a playmaker, frees him up to do that stuff. And let me tell you, if they had done this deal and Naz Reid was still a Timberwolf, I would have been like, home run. But the part where they gave up Naz Reid and Julius Randle, they went from one of the big teams. We talk about size in the West, right? The Thunder and the Spurs and Denver and Minnesota was one of those teams. And now they go from one of the biggest teams to Jaden McDaniels as your starting 4. I don't like that at all.
Does Minnesota deserve the benefit of the doubt? Because previously they made moves like Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle, and I do think that they spun those into wins when a lot of people were questioning those moves in very similar fashion.
Absolutely. Tim Connolly is one of the most respected front office guys, but he is a riverboat gambler. And so telling me that the riverboat gambler has won on 2 consecutive bets or however many consecutive bets doesn't mean that the next one is going to win. It means he's probably due for one that's going to fall flat on its face.
Oh, but what I saw happening here almost has less to do with Minnesota than it does with the symbolism of Wemby hitting Naz Reid in the face and all of a sudden Minnesota realizing, yeah, we were close, but now those 2 teams are younger and they're going to keep getting better, and we have to do something. The team that we have is not good enough to compete with OKC. As constituted, the team that we have is not good enough to actually compete with OKC and the Spurs.
I just don't believe that. They've been to the conference finals twice in the last 3 years. Last year they didn't make it because, in part, Anthony Edwards is hurt. Dante DiVincenzo is out for the entire series. Ayo Dosunmu, who had a great game in that series, was also playing injured. So it was a compromised version of them. But also, if we're trying to compete with the Spurs, with the Nuggets, with the Thunder, all these big teams, how are you going to tell me trading away all your size is the answer?
And obviously they had a strong need for guard, for playmaking and stuff, which LaMelo and Ayo Dosunmu cover. But now your front court against big places in the West, Chet Holmgren, Jokic, Wemby, anybody like that. Now all of a sudden you don't have anybody. LaMelo does do a great job of creating for others, though. He created how many, hundreds of threes for Concanipple, for Miller, for Bridges in Charlotte. So I'm interested to see what he does for Ant.
You're in Minnesota has championship aspirations. They've had championship aspirations for the last few years. You're in a big playoff game, and the ball's in LaMelo Ball's hands. Give me a break.
So this is what I'm going to say. And I'm not like the biggest LaMelo Ball fan, but I am a big fan of Anthony Edwards. And we thought a certain way about Karl Anthony Towns, and then Anthony Edwards got around him, and he became way better, right, and way more focused. We thought a certain type of way about Julius Randle, and then Anthony Edwards got around him, and then he played the best ball of his career. I feel like LaMelo, however wild or crazy, unreliable he is, you put him next to Anthony Edwards, and there's a level of like, no, this is serious here. Making it to the playoffs is not our goal. Our goal is a championship. And that culture, I think LaMelo Ball will conform with.
You guys objected to what it is I was saying about this Hornets team. I was using the second half of the season. They just broke up the best lineup offensively that there was in the sport the second half of last season. LaMelo, Knipple, Bridges, Miller, and Diabate, their net rating was 26.4 in 509 minutes, plus 26.4. The second half of the season, you guys are much higher on what it is that they're doing than I am.
Dan, all of that is true. Also, they barely squeaked by in a Miami Heat team that all you guys say is terrible, and then they got their asses annihilated by Orlando. So all of that's nice, but this is what I always say about regular season statistics. They're built on the corpses of all the awful teams you play.
Like a third of the league that wasn't trying this year.
When you play against a team that's
everybody was playing the bad teams, and this was the best lineup statistically. Everybody was playing those bad teams.
Sure, but my point is, once we get to a place where, okay, now it's serious, where it's not a divided attention, everyone on the staff, everyone on the team is geared to just beat your ass, they didn't perform quite as well, and LaMelo Ball was one of the biggest culprits. That's why Zaz is saying big playoff game. You're trusting him, the ball in his hands. That's why he's saying that, because his track record is they haven't been to the playoffs, but they've been to the play-in a bunch of times. He's not good there.
I mean, they were also a byproduct of white-hot shooting for that stretch after the All-Star game, where they kind of take what Boston does and the principles that they do and brought it over to Charlotte. We're like, we're going to shoot 1 trillion threes with everybody here on the floor. And it's also shades of that Heat team that went, 30-11 or whatever. And you're like, all right, we can run this back. Charlotte looked at it and said, there's character guys that we don't really like. There's guys that can show us that this is a bit of fool's gold. Let's be proactive, like Zaz says, and get something for our return.
And they did just replicate in the aggregate what they lost in the three-point shooting with Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen.
It's an amazing roster that they're putting together. It's really deep. If we're gonna take like the Knicks as an example of, hey, maybe I don't have the best player in the league on my team, but I've got 9 to 11 guys who are all really, really good, bona fide rotation NBA players. Now, Charles, he's got to bring it all together. He's got to get everyone to buy in the same way that Mike Brown did. But if I'm a Hornets fan and they're pissed, Rod Boone of the Charlotte Observer was on the radio show with us yesterday. He let us know the fans are pissed because they feel like Dan does. Like, wait a second, we had the best season ever, and you guys are breaking up the Beatles. But the reality is, it's what Tony said. They know, hey, this isn't real. What happened, that's not real. That's not sustainable. We got good, and now it's the time where we can sell LaMelo Ball high, and we could sell a guy that was unsellable. Unsellable. Miles Bridges, because of the domestic violence, very graphic, very well-documented incidents, he was untouchable. Even when he came back to the Hornets, people were like, what are you guys doing? So them being able to trade him for 2 rotation NBA players who are really good shooters, and now you're surrounding Brandon Miller with Con Knipple and Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen and Naz Reid, who I think, again, I'll say it again, I think this guy's an all-star caliber big man. They're doing something very, like, you guys, as you guys are worried about what the rest of the Eastern Conference is doing, look in your own division, because that one right there, you got to watch out.
But it's not just, though, that I'm looking at the second half of the season, if I'm a Charlotte fan, why it is that I'm bothered by this when I say the best team that they have had since Jamal Mashburn was there, even though you guys are throwing the Kemba Walker team at me. The thing that Charlotte had that they probably haven't had in 2 decades is a player that the fan base falls in love with, for better or worse. This was a star basketball name that they had in Charlotte, and they haven't had one of those. Like, it's been a long time since their fan base can celebrate, oh, we have someone who's a star name. Whether you like his playing style or not, I don't trust him either. I think he's reckless in general. I think he's inefficient. He does a lot of stuff and did a lot of stuff before that Orlando game that is as smothered as you can be as an offense. He did a lot of stuff that was dumb, just flat dumb. It's not the way we're playing basketball anymore. We can extend the range of these players to 30 feet if you like. Nobody's playing basketball the way as sloppily as LaMelo Ball is.
Yes, you're right. But he is a star, undeniable, very popular, one of the biggest sellers of sneakers out there, one of the most watched on social media, and he is a product of the social media generation, right? LeVar made him a star as like a sophomore in high school in that way, in a way that probably far surpasses actual basketball achievement. And so they're going to have to reckon with that in a market where they've already had to struggle to sell tickets and get people excited. That never really healed after George Shinn moved the team to New Orleans. And so they've always been kind of climbing this massive uphill back. But basketball-wise, I feel like this is a great thing. And to me, all of that stuff, they'll trade it all in for success. They'll trade it all in for a winner, and I think this is going to make them into a winner.
You know about that big baller brand?
Thank you.
The Balls, they became famous with a generation of social media kids while playing in Lithuania as high schoolers, right? Like, it was just, they were very young, and a generation of kids grew up with a different kind of social media star because this family came in and rattled the cages of the NBA, where you have the Lakers as an example, Magic Johnson being bothered because LeVar, their father, is doing press conferences outside of the locker room.
Did you see it? He's back. Yeah. LeVar had a press conference the other day. He sat there with the big baller brand step and repeat behind him, and he said, Minnesota, you made the best move ever. Now you can make it even greater. You get Lonzo.
Coldest move in the game. Trade for that Melo.
Get that Lonzo and that Jello, right? And you bring them together because you know what's better than one ball? 3 balls.
Let's go to some video here I wanted to show you guys that reminded me of one of the funniest press conferences I've ever been around. It was back in Shea Stadium. It wasn't Citi Field back then. But let's go. The Mets fired their manager, Carlos Mendoza. And for those of you who are not watching video, I would urge you on YouTube to watch what's happening in the background here as a mascot shows. Is this Mr. Met? A mascot is ruining what is a very serious report from a reporter, or making it better depending on what angle you look at it from. The reporter is very serious. The mascot is not.
Answer for how the team got here. If there was, they'd fix it. There's a lot of layers to this, but what I will say is it's become clear that the Mets simply changed too much this offseason at one time. There's every reason in the world to say that last year's team collapsed. We're going to make some changes. But when you turn over the entire roster, the entire coaching staff,
So for those of you who are just on audio, Mr. Met was doing an assortment of dances, including, what is this one called, where you sort of
Will Smith did that in the video.
Where you karate chop on both sides up into the air. What is that dance called? Mr. Met is doing an assortment of dances.
Dan, this is one of those times where I realize we have a big audio audience. While they're driving, while they're running, while they're doing the dishes, whatever they can't watch. I'm going to tell you right now, stop and go find this video and watch, because we cannot do it justice describing it. Because, the report is about the manager got fired. Like, this is as dire a report as you can have.
And how awful a season they're having.
Yeah. And in the background, Mr. Met, all I can say is, like, imagine Chris Cody doing his dance moves while wearing a Mr. Met costume.
Yeah, play it again here. And Chris, look up for me. That dance has to have a name. It has to have some sort of name.
How would you describe it when you're putting it in Google right now?
Yes, go ahead and see if you can find the karate chopping the
it's
sky
called,
dance.
That's all. That's the dance.
Answer for how the team got here. If there was, they'd fix it. There's a lot of layers to this, but what I will say is it's become clear that the Mets simply changed too much this offseason at one time. There's every reason in the world to say that last year's team collapsed. We're going to make some changes. But when you turn over the entire roster...
He's using excellent use of his giant head, which is 3 times larger than a human head. But the story I was going to tell you, I have rarely laughed, in a sports setting more inappropriately than being on the field at Shea Stadium. And the Mets manager at the time, Dallas Green, a very serious man, comes out and he was talking about some very serious controversy. I think at the time, I'm going to guess here, I may have my timelines mixed up, but I believe at the time the Mets were dealing with dual controversies. One, Vince Coleman had thrown not what Vince Coleman was saying was a firecracker, but it was like an M80 kind of bomb. He had thrown it at a fan. And Brett Saberhagen, the pitcher, had used a water pistol to spray bleach on a reporter. And so Dallas Green came on to the field and was surrounded by the New York media, but I could not hear anything that he was saying because on the Jumbotron, Fred Flintstone was talking way too loud as Dallas Green was very serious. And so the reporters were like complaining, but Fred Flintstone would not quiet down. They could not get him to quiet down. And Dallas Green couldn't be heard addressing the controversy while surrounded by reporters. And I'm the only one giggle snorting with laughter at the absurdity of what it is that I'm watching, which is this manager under duress. Like, this was viewed as the worst team money could buy. They had the highest payroll in baseball, and all of their players were behaving like idiots, and Dallas Green couldn't be heard because Fred Flintstone was behind him. Wilbon hates mascots. I think I can judge a person. I think I can make a character assessment of a person based on whether or not they hate mascots. You can't hate mascots, can you?
I also famously hate mascots. We have had this conversation.
Famously?
Yeah, we talked about this.
That's
already.
true. I've heard about it.
If none of us know, is it that famous?
No, I knew. And I didn't know because Tony told me. I knew because the internet let me know. Famous people who hate mascots. Mike Wilbon, Robin Lopez, 10-Day Tony.
Robin Lopez hates mascots?
He hates mascots. He beats them up.
Really? Because he loves Disney, so.
He's got feuds with various mascots. Yes, he's got an assortment of feuds. Can I ask you guys here on Good Morning America this morning, this was with Michael Strahan and Chris Johnson, former fastest man in the NFL, a running back a lot of you guys remember. The lost art of the breakaway run. It doesn't seem like those are available to us as often as they were during Chris Johnson's time when he was viewed as the fastest guy in the NFL and a game breaker. He shared the news with America and Michael Strahan that he has been diagnosed with ALS. And I don't know what to do with somebody who is this young, getting the prison sentence that this particular disease is. But let's hear from Chris Johnson as he decides to share this with all of America.
You've chosen to share some personal news today, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage to share it. What would you like?
That I'm still me. ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am.
In 2025, at the age of 39, Johnson was diagnosed with ALS. The disease progressing so rapidly that he now uses his eyes to trigger a speech-generating device to speak. Why do you want to share this now?
Because if sharing my story helps even one person get diagnosed sooner, inspires more research, or gives another family hope, then it's worth it.
For those of you not watching the video on that, Chris Johnson is not moving as those words are computer generated as they explained in the video, and it is really hard to watch. I was not actually aware before this story that this is something that could move that fast on someone this young. I did not know. I was simply shocked to see Chris Johnson in the condition that he cannot speak for himself because of the way that he is trapped inside of his body.
Dan, last Saturday we had to bury one of my best friends from college who died of ALS, and it happened very quickly. It progressed very rapidly for him. And like Chris is saying, it's my buddy Ken. He was completely aware and everything. It's just you can't move. And at some point, he needed life support to work his lungs for him. And at that point, he made the decision that we're gonna go ahead and transition. But it's awful, and it feels like the worst possible death sentence because you're cognizant. And I just feel like any other kind of condition where you're not all the way there, at least there's some solace in that you're not recognizing what's happening to you. But in the case of ALS, he's there. He's cracking jokes up until the very end. And it's the weirdest thing we were talking about it before the show, Mike, is like, how does ALS happen? We don't even know. Like, we have theories, but we really don't know what the cause of it is, and that's why the research is so needed, and that's why what Boog and Tom Haberstroh and all those guys do to raise money for research purposes is so important.
ProjectMainStreet.org is where you go if you want to help with this. This is obviously humanizing, okay? And it's startling as an illness in general, but it is made to me all the more startling when you're someone who has made their living with their body being a picture of health that is healthier than the rest of us, that is bigger, stronger, faster. Anytime this makes an appearance, obviously, in people of any age, you can see for yourself what a prison this illness is, but it's even more startling to me because in my mind, when I associate Chris Johnson with word association, I'm associating him with he's faster than all of the other guys. His body works more efficiently than all of the other bodies, and putting those things side by side and seeing him as someone who cannot even speak for himself. Thank God, by the way, that we have the technology to help these people communicate this way.
That was amazing.
This was even worse 25 years ago when you didn't have the ability to even write things down for yourself or communicate.
It was worse 2 years ago. AI will help in some of these cases, but also there have been incredible developments through the Ice Bucket Challenge. That's why researching and funding these programs is so important. If you guys want to watch a documentary, watch Gleason from 2016. And we know how aggressive and how quick this can change and ravage someone's body from that documentary because it happened very quickly to Steve Gleason. And yeah, as Zaz said, you are imprisoned in your own body. You are fully aware of what you can no longer do.
I know we talked about this last month because June 2nd was Lou Gehrig Day earlier this month, and we had fun with it. Where I think this is the worst disease. It's not a competition, of course, but this is why I think it's the worst thing out there. You're literally a prisoner in your body. Mentally, you're 100% okay, and you can't do anything. But I know we don't know what causes it, but it's really hard not to look at the football players who get it. We're talking Chris Johnson now, Mongo McMichael, who died last year, Steve Gleason, who, is still out there doing tremendous work. I forget the one player's name. He played for the Dolphins and the Ravens. He had ALS as well. Where are the basketball players? Where are the baseball players? No, it's the football players who are. Now, I know there's other people who didn't bang their head against the wall for a living, specifically Tom Habershaw's mother, but it's football players. It's not the other sports.
Yeah, head trauma seems to be a pretty clear indicator that increases your chances of getting this horrific disease. People would point to, well, isn't this named after a baseball player? And I think I saw it on Real Sports because I did plenty with head trauma and ALS. Lou Gehrig, famous Iron Man, right? Well, there were actually chronicled instances in which he suffered severe head trauma, cracked his skull while playing baseball, and continued playing. Didn't get the appropriate rest, so it can't be ruled out with him either.
ProjectMainStreet.org helps caregivers have the funds that they need to take care of people. I told you that when my brother was dying, I just spent a great deal of time in hospitals where I just felt the weight of people loving someone who was sick all around us in the hospital. and not being able to afford health care in a way that makes Americans, led by Bill Burr, come out and be some kind of okay with the murder in the street of a healthcare CEO because of how frustrated people are with the poisons of the insurance industry and the horror of not being able to afford basic care when a loved one of yours needs basic care. So Boog and Tom Haberstroh and others are helping through projectmainstreet.org if that is something that moves you to donate, because the caregivers, many caregivers, need help with what ends up becoming you're just taking care of somebody as if they're an infant. As if they're a toddler. So there, it's, for me though, when it happens to an athlete, it's not just that the body was once the tool that paid for the entire economy that funded your lifestyle. So that's one portion of it. But these people are so pridefully self-sufficient. Like, what their body does in order to be professional athletes makes them proud of their self-sufficiency, and there is just a breaking of the soul that happens inside of needing in a way that most people are not comfortable being that vulnerable with need, but especially within the huddle. The place that they're always comparing to war, and your teammates are at your side, and the most important thing is, can you count on the guy next to you? And that's as far as need goes, right? Can I count on that person? Not for basic needs of any kind. So again, if you're interested in helping, a couple of different causes around here that we are asking you to help with. ProjectMainstreet.org helps the caregivers take care of the people with ALS who need that help. And also in Venezuela today, and over the last week, among the places that you can go to help, globalempowermentmission.org, UnitedWayMiami.org, and foodforthepoor.org.
Willie Mopena.
It is time for
to
share his
World Cup.
game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy.
World Cup Observations is brought to you by Miller Lite. Legendary moments start with a light. Dan, after 18 days and 72 matches, the wait is finally over. The Tartan Army got the fuck out of here. Go back to Scotland. Holy shit.
What are you doing?
Get out of here.
Welcoming the world.
No, they're gone. The wait is over. We were waiting for them to go home. They're the life of the party, yes. But everyone who's thrown a house party knows you want the life of the party to go home.
Unless they drive you thousands of dollars in revenue
Yeah, okay.
to your small venue, then you love them.
So this is the part where I feel conflicted. Because can we survive the economy crash? All those bar tabs. All the trash that was picked up by, we had to have people working overtime. Thank you, Tartan Army.
I'm so jealous that Boston got him for 2 weeks.
All those bar tabs, not a single dollar in gratuity. It's not part of their culture. The World Cup finally begins, boys. Today, knockout stage. Don't talk to me about yesterday. That one doesn't count.
What do you mean?
Canada, South Africa, that one doesn't count.
Terrible, man.
That's why they put it on its own day. Yeah. Everybody else got a break. You're like, you guys, you know how like halftime of an NBA game sometimes they'll have the kids from the YMCA play on the court because it's halftime? That's what that was.
Yeah. I finally found bad pizza.
A goal in stoppage time to advance, that can't be a bad game.
Yeah. Did you watch? Because that one's the one.
The exhilaration of match day. Exhilaration was that word, Zaz. I know you. Brazil. When I did my little rant earlier in the show, I literally sprayed spittle all over this table.
Yeah, people came out of the room complaining about that.
Yeah, it looked like a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander shot chart. Just, a lot of mid-ranges and everything.
It really did.
What was more heartbreaking for Iran? Having a goal in the 90th called off? Or then having to watch Austria-Algeria, watch Algeria go up 3-2 in the 90th, only for Austria to tie it up like 2 minutes later in the 90th.
That was the game of the tournament so far.
It was, but also it's heartbreaking for Iran. Argentina, do it against Cabo Verde. Cabo Verde needs to stay alive for as long as possible. Zaz, do you know about the Cabo Verde fans?
They are good fans, Dan.
I mean, I have this question. I asked this question in the group chat, Mike, but I'm going to extend it to the audience and to Dan. And guys, I am a modern man. I respect and love everybody. But I have to ask this question. How is it that every single World Cup fan base is so impossibly hot? And then when you look at all the sports, every sport imaginable, team sports, individual sports, is there any sport that comes close to World Cup soccer fan bases in terms of how hot they are? 'Cause I've been to a lot of NBA games, and yeah, they're glamorous people. They're not hot like that. Not regular. The regulars in the crowd are hot.
I would nominate a golf outing.
No way. I've been to Waste Management Open, the greatest golf tournament.
Not saying it's as good. Trust me. I enjoyed driving.
You just nominated it.
I'm just looking for other good look. You go to this sporting event.
So you nominate something you don't actually agree with.
I'm saying you go to a golf outing and you see, it's a nice
College
day.
football
It's a
out
great
there.
day for sunglasses.
Especially now that the Canes are back.
One of my favorite things of the World Cup is when people call the Democratic Republic of Congo Dr. Congo. I really enjoy it. I don't know why. I created a 6-leg parlay where a $10 bet has a payoff of $1.2 million. Yeah, I think I might have to pull the trigger on this one. Part of it is Cabo Verde beating Argentina in 90 minutes. So,
do you agree with Dominique's conspiracy theory that the World Cup fans are planted strategically, that it's not just random hot people, that it's part of how the World Cup sells itself?
Mike, you've been there. I've seen Mike's real-life, boots-on-the-ground video at World Cup stadiums and outside of it. Flawless.
There's so much more they can show you.
That's like what we're seeing. That's the sanitized version. That's the PG. Like, this is what we can show the puritanical American audiences because they could not handle. Our brains would fry if we saw how hot everyone in that stadium was.
Great fans.
Welcome to Latino women, boys.
I love cosplaying as a Colombian.
I love cosplaying as anything. Brazil. Christian Pulisic wouldn't have got nutmegged if you pronounced his name correctly. He got him so dirty, man. The funny thing was, he actually tried it the play right before, and he closed his legs and it went out of bounds. And so then they're doing the throw in, and he did it again. And I was like, you know how little someone has to respect you to try that multiple times. It wasn't about, hey, I got to get this ball in play so we can score. It was, I'm going to make you look like a fool. You know why? Because he says his name Pulisic. Dumbass. Cristiano Ronaldo is everyone's grandpa walking in the living room during a Super Bowl party, standing directly in front of the TV asking, what are y'all watching? Fuck out the way, man.
Do you guys realize he's got more minutes on the field, or the pitch, as you like to call it, than any other World Cup player? Than any other?
That's what happens when you play 8 billion World Cups. How many goals does he have? That's the question.
He had a couple of 2 games ago, and you guys are still ripping him.
Uzbekistan.
He played well against Uzbekistan. Yes.
No one in the world is happier than Tunisia's former head coach, who was replaced by heartthrob Hervé Renard. He's saying, not so easy, is it, pretty boy? They got waxed, man. They got waxed every game. They didn't allow a goal in qualification. And
Did you see that group, though?
Oh, my God. I can't see Dan ever be in that group. Messi. Don't get too comfortable with that most goals scored in World Cup history thing. You're not even renting. You're in an Airbnb, and the owner is Mbappe.
Well, he looks like he's getting pretty comfortable.
Why does it mean say it like it's some bumbling statistic? Oh, most goals consecutive World Cup history. That's kind of a big thing.
Well, Mbappe is going to catch him because of his age, but man, Messi
Because of his age, he's going to do it this World Cup. This World Cup, he's going to do it.
I think, well, Messi is presently the top goal scorer.
Okay.
So he's actually increased his lead.
Yeah, well, you know what's going to happen. Cabo Verde going to send him to hell. Argentina can go to hell. These are the World Cup observations.
The video that's on the screen, Pablo has gotten out of the elevator that he was trapped in. He is going to walk us through this hour with more Kawhi information as some more indictments have come down today. But the Messi statue in Argentina, a lot of people are pointing out that from the back, the statue makes it look like the World Cup trophy that a giant Messi is kneeling in front of. When you look at that from the back, it looks like Messi has a giant penis.
Nope, that's not what it looks like. To me it does. It looks like he's riding a giant penis.
To each their own.
I disagree. I don't think that looks like he is.
You don't think that looks like that?
Reverse cowgirl, folks.
Looks like he's pooping.
It also looks like he is pooping, although I think that would be further back.
It's like a cloud, guys. It can be whatever you want it to be.
No, but I don't think. I think that most people are making fun of this because it doesn't look like a cloud or as pooping as much as it looks like in the front. This is unfortunate. We can agree. The centered World Cup makes it, the World Cup trophy makes it so that this is an unfortunate statue that's in Argentina. We'd agree?
This is stupid to me. Look at the statue from the front the way you're supposed to view the statue.
Look at it from the front.
It looks
He's riding cock.
completely normal.
There it is. He's riding cock. That is a cock, and he's positioning himself right over it.
That's not. So
That's
Pablo Torre is with us now.
They got like the fabric sort of like so beautifully done. Like if you look at the folds in the shirt, that must have been hard to construct. And then
you know what else is hard? That cock he's riding.
Can you stop that, please? Pablo, the indictments that came down today, the news that came down today, and the news that Shams is reporting that Toronto and Kawhi Leonard are involved in serious trade talks, or Toronto and the Clippers are involved in serious trade talks. What did you make of today's information?
There's a lot happening. There's too much happening. Okay, so a couple of thoughts that I have around how it is that the NBA, I was talking to an NBA owner last week who was wondering, why is this taking so long? What is dragging the NBA's investigation into what feels like a very conspicuous sort of briar patch in which there is no announcement, there is no ruling. All of it sort of, to me, as I watch and I continue to report, all of it seems to me like if the NBA's goal is to shrink the footprint, the PR mess of this entire story, a lot of this makes sense. And so I'll take you back to pre-All-Star before we go to where we are today. So, of course, we publish now 11 parts, I think, is where we are in our series.
That's right.
And one of the first things you heard was that none of this would derail the NBA's All-Star game being held in the Intuit Dome. That was one thing. The next thing you heard was that a couple months later, wait a minute, the Los Angeles Clippers have gotten the 5th pick in this draft. Incredible. And then, despite various rumor mill things spinning up pre-draft that we would get a ruling, the Clippers went and made that pick in the draft. So congratulations to the Clippers. Then the notion is, okay, well, free agency starting July 1st. Certainly, given that Adam had said previously that there was going to be resolution, we got to end this sometime, certainly this would happen before free agency. And of course, we are waiting here today. And the rumor with the Raptors is so unbelievably interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One is that the Toronto Raptors, of course, were the team that had the biggest complaint about Kawhi via tampering by the Clippers, allegedly, via cap circumvention by the Clippers, allegedly, because he was their guy. And the Clippers took him from them after winning the title and one season. The other detail here that I think is really interesting is that the owner of the Raptors, is who?
Is Roger...
Larry Tannenbaum.
Larry Tannenbaum.
I'm glad you asked Amin that and put him in a position to win there.
He was thinking about the Rogers Center.
Rogers Center.
That's what he was thinking about.
But,
Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment.
but not great when
Rogers
you
Center.
say Roger and he says Larry. Like it didn't sound like chemistry to me between you two.
Let them cook.
We've only done 11 episodes together. The Larry Tannenbaum detail is interesting because no one typically knows or talks about Larry Tannenbaum to the illustration that we just got on this show. Larry Tannenbaum, though, has a very particular job currently. He is the chair of the NBA's Board of Governors. And so when you're thinking about what's happening backstage, who knows what, and what is being negotiated, I just think it's very interesting that the Toronto Raptors are the one team that Kawhi apparently is saying he would sign a long-term extension with. They would pay him the max. And the guy who is overseeing the Board of Governors, which is the thing that ostensibly is in charge of all of the most important matters in the NBA, that guy happens to own the Raptors. So to me, what this smells like is a bunch of people who know stuff, and they're not telling the public. What they're trying to do is get to a point in which the PR footprint has shrunk such that more podcasts can be mitigated or nullified, such that more embarrassment can be prevented. It all feels like the sort of thing the NBA, if it had its way, I'm not saying that they're doing this deliberately, I'm just saying it is very convenient that Kawhi Leonard, if this is true, may not be a Clipper by the time that a ruling is dropped, if all of this reporting is to be believed.
The other part of this is if you're the NBA, you're saying to yourself, okay, who are the stakeholders in this decision? Who are the people who actually care? Who are the aggrieved parties? The other 29 teams, right? Because the Clippers cheated, and whatever fan bases care about. Well, if they can walk away and say, well, the aggrieved parties, what do you guys want? You want the Clippers to be held accountable. Okay. We dock them picks, we find them, and if we leave it there, then you're satisfied, right? Like it doesn't need to be the massive bring down the whole establishment thing. What we're trying to do is basically, by indirect means, compensate everybody for what infractions happened. They cheated, all right, dock them their picks, and now we're good.
This, though, is reported so thoroughly and is so egregious as caught cheating based on all of the reporting that you guys have done that has resulted in a Pulitzer Prize, that it seems to me that we're headed toward inevitably a dissatisfaction with how punitive this is going to be because of how handcuffed they are by the collective bargaining agreement. Because to me, this is something that has been reported with such detail that it should result in one of the biggest penalties we've ever seen in sports, and it doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen.
I mean, the reporting suggests that this is the most vast and absurd cap circumvention scheme not just in the NBA, but in American sports, according to everything that I've seen.
This kind of cheating is so egregious that I'm almost certain at this point, given how delayed this is and what you just mentioned about Toronto being the one that's involved with trading for him, suggested he's not going to get into very much trouble at all. And I'm not sure how much they can penalize the Clippers, but based on your reporting, I do. What is the greatest punishment that a team has ever gotten? Is Donald Sterling losing his team the greatest punishment that there has been in basketball?
Minnesota and Joe Smith, they were penalized pretty heavily, weren't they?
But five first-round picks does not hold a candle to they took the team away from you.
We're also penalized.
The greatest penalty for cheating that there's ever been across sports, when you guys think of a league coming down on somebody, Adam Silver made his initial reputation on being able to replace David Stern, made that reputation because of how loud he was in taking the team away from Donald Sterling. This should be something that enters that realm, like in terms of one of them is optics. The other one is cheating. Like what Donald Sterling did looked bad, sounded bad, was bad, wasn't cheating. Like, wasn't this overt of a cheating scandal?
It wasn't cheating at all. There was no material advantage that Donald Sterling got by being a racist. He was just racist, and they got him out of there. But it kind of highlights what we're talking about. It's about the optics, right? It's what's the decision that we can make that makes the stakeholders, the other 29 teams, and then whatever fans are actually locked in on this, which is debatable, feel satisfied. It's not about actually meting out justice, because the reality is, if we were to treat this and go beyond Article 13, which is very specific on how you can punish people. That's why I told you guys earlier, Kawhi's not going to get suspended. They can't suspend him. It's not allowed, right, for this infraction. The reality is this. The one thing you don't want to do is have Steve Ballmer on the outside of the NBA circle. That guy is a massive asset to the NBA, to its goals, especially at this time, now more than ever, where we got one guy who doesn't want to keep the hotel room for the team masseuse. You got another guy in New York who's like, we won a championship, but guess what? I don't want to spend any money. Like, we are at a time where we need good PR. And Steve Ballmer, this thing aside, for the most part, is like the NBA mascot.
This thing
he's
aside.
But
this thing aside.
He's good PR for the league. Dan.
Not anymore, he's not.
Dan, you don't want him on the outside. That's the last thing you want.
What the NBA definitively does not want is litigation with Steve Ballmer. You know, there are versions in which the NBA, and I've fantasized about which day and how they would do it, and the NBA could do this in which they announce a massive punishment, but the response from the Clippers is, and we are going to sue you. Or, and we are going to take you to arbitration, which is possible. The NBA, if you take all the optics, Dan, as the real story here, which it is, right? What am I saying when I'm saying they got the All-Star game, they got the draft pick, they got to potentially trade Kawhi before any punishment happens? That's all in the spirit of optics. And the optics would become so much worse if it's the league versus one of their owners, let alone the owner with the most money in all of American sports. And the other thing when it comes to optics that I want to remind people of is that early in all of this was after the September 10th NBA owners meeting, Adam Silver said the following, and I'll just quote it here. I'd frankly never heard of the company Aspiration before, and I never heard a whiff of anything around an endorsement deal with Kawhi or anything around engagement with the Los Angeles Clippers, so it was all new to me. End quote. What happens next? We get a copy of the founding sponsorship agreement, the $300 million document that Aspiration had with the Clippers, which, quote, must be submitted prior to its execution for NBA approval and shall not be effective or enforceable until it is expressly approved by the NBA, end quote. So there's a bit of a conflict there. And then what happens next? This is now mid-September. Adam Silver is interviewed on stage by Front Office Sports. And what he says is, actually, hold on, I have heard about Aspiration before. Quote, I said I never heard of it. I meant in the context of the accusations here, I was certainly aware of the brand. End quote. There is a phenomenal and hilarious and unsettling inconsistency when it comes to how the NBA itself has talked about this story, which all indicates to me that they clearly want this to go away.
What's the
as
point
fast as
of
possible.
having rules at all if Amin's going to sit here and make the argument that, yes, the most egregious thing you have ever heard proven that an owner has done to get around a salary cap that is collectively bargained by players and teams alike so that no one can do this, the most egregious crime that an owner has done to flagrantly, allegedly break the rules. We like having him around. It's good optics. We don't want to upset him. We don't want to go to court against a guy who has cheated this flagrantly, this obviously,
Dan,
allegedly.
You remember the Dark Knight trilogy? And in the second one, Harvey Dent, who is Gotham's prince of a DA, and he locked up all the bad guys and all that stuff. And then he gets scarred, and then he kidnaps Commissioner Gordon's son and almost kills him and all that stuff, and then he dies. And then they come back in the third one, and they've created the Dent Act, which is basically Harvey was murdered by thugs and criminals, and we need to continue his legacy. And the Dent Act, in and of itself, in execution, is a very good thing. It's a good thing for the safety of Gotham. But it's built on a lie that Harvey Dent was a good dude when at the end he wasn't. Profound. What Gotham needed, they needed to believe in Harvey Dent. That was more important than the truth of knowing that Harvey Dent was a guy who kidnapped a child and all that stuff. But my point is this, Dan. My point is this. I'm with you. This is egregious. I hate when people call it sloppy or not a big deal or everyone does it. Like, no, this was sophisticated and it was deep and it was absolutely planned and executed, in my belief, right? Having said that, to make an example out of Steve Ballmer by tossing him aside in a world where we have Tom Dundon and Jim Dolan and all these other guys that we don't want those guys. I don't think that is good for the long-term vision of the league. It is better to believe that Steve Ballmer is a good and kind soul than to cast him aside and let Bane and the rest of those guys
Am I
run
Bane?
Gotham. You're Bane. You are. You're reading the letter. You're reading the letter right now.
Can I add something, Dan? Because I think one thing that's underrated, something that I've been shocked by in the last 9-10 months of reporting this story, is that I think fans do care. I don't want to make it entirely about the pesky, moralizing journalists on one side and the fans who don't care at all on the other side. And somewhere the NBA has to figure out, how do we speak out of both sides of our mouths to both groups? I think right now, sports is in a place where fans are smarter than we think. They can smell when there's something happening behind the scenes that is not truthful. They can smell when very wealthy people are doing things that they don't want to disclose to the average Joe. And the idea here is not that, man, I love the salary cap as a moral instrument. The idea is, do rules even matter anywhere? And I think we're at a moment where part of the virality and the impact of the story is because the fans, let alone the coaches and the GMs and the owners, all of whom I've heard from to shocking degrees, it's the fans who are like, they're taking from us. They're not treating us like we have any amount of intelligence. They treat us like we're stupid.
The salary cap is not a moral thing, but the salary cap is something that exists because San Antonio and OKC could not compete with everyone else if Ballmer just wanted the players. Ballmer could buy his way into the game, couldn't buy his way into the game, so he allegedly cheated in a way that's really flagrant, like offensive to anybody who cares about the rules. This is a very easy rule. This rule makes it so that the richest owner can't do this to the poorest owner, and Ballmer allegedly, I don't have to do it that way. I'm going to do all of this so that I don't have to do it that way. And I can't even imagine how people would be right now on this story if it wasn't Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers who didn't win anything, but it was Mahomes and the Chiefs. Or it was somewhere else where there's a salary cap and you're like, wait a minute, you can't do that.
Well, Dan, the example I gave, I think in the first episode we did, Pablo, I said, if this were Jim Dolan, we'd all be jumping off the top rope with the people's elbow. The league would probably be throwing alley-oops to us. about this, right? But it's because part of it is because it's the Clippers, not quite the brand name, right? But the other part of it is because Steve Ballmer is generally regarded as one of the quote-unquote good guys. And so that's what makes this so much harder for the league to adjudicate. If it was someone who was an easy target, if this was Robert Sarver, they would have buried him underneath Bathgate Prison.
They did. This has been an interesting segment to see play out, given the Pulitzer winners here that have been the driving force behind this. It's like that scene in Jurassic Park. This is unbelievable. Brought the 2 archaeologists in to be on my side, and the only guy that's on my side is a blood-sucking lawyer. Why is Dan on an island?
The idea that you guys are making it about the criminal instead of the crime is just misguided. Like, this is not about the criminal. It's about the crime. It doesn't matter who's committing the crime. It does not. I understand that it was easy for Silver to get Donald Sterling gone because all of the other owners wanted him gone. But what are we legislating? And what's the point of a commissioner applying anything in the realm of judgment or protection of the sport if you're going to have different rules for the different criminals?
But Dan, it's always been like that. It's the reason why when Draymond Green sneezes and he gets suspended, we're like, yeah, because it wasn't Steph doing it. It was you.
That's life, though, Dan. Like, it's about the criminal who does it. Yeah. There's people that vary. There's 2 laws of, series of justice for people that have means and people that don't.
Yeah, but in this particular case, the rule that is being fractured is the one that's meant to create equality. Like, the very rule is in place so that all of these people are equal no matter the amount of money they have. And you guys are telling me, well, one of these guys is good for the league, even though this is go ahead and give it to me. Go ahead and give me the other example you guys have as ironclad as this one of an owner behaving this poorly to fracture the rules. Give it to me.
Glenn Taylor, Minnesota.
It's not as bad as this. It's not as bad as this because Joe Smith isn't this player. Joe Smith wasn't wanted the way this player was, and Bill Ballmer got this player by simply, allegedly cheating.
Our tone is so good right now. Yes.
What about the indictments, Pablo?
Oh, man. Okay. So, gosh. One more thing on Kawhi, and then we'll get to the gambling stuff because the rabbit hole is vast on the gambling stuff. I think that when it comes down to why the rule matters, why the crime versus the criminal matters, I just think that the NBA, Adam Silver, the question I often think about is, like, what would David Stern do? And I don't think David Stern would have handled it like this. Some have mused that David Stern would have assassinated me by now, which I also think is fair. He might have handled it that way.
1,000%.
But the whole thing of, is Adam Silver beholden to the money in a way that has sacrificed everything that's made the NBA special, is an active conversation that is worth having. Adam Silver has looked to money in every regard at the expense of what you could argue are the core principles of the sport. And the whole idea that you can't even punish the owner because you're afraid of him is a defiance of the entire job description of what a commissioner does. Of course, we can be cynical and say, but he has all the money. But the point is that sports is supposed to be different. If sports is going to be like the federal government, like, frankly, the United States in the era when Steve Ballmer, noted good guy, was running Microsoft in the largest anti-competitive scandal at that point in the history of capitalism, when he was truly anti-competitive there in ways that the federal government were trying to fight. If sports is just going to be that, if the rules truly don't matter, then what we get is what we deserve. And maybe that makes me sound like Bane, but we will deserve everything when sports becomes worse because we can't even enforce the rules anymore.
Now, Pablo, do it again. This time stand on top of a car.
Yeah. The indictments.
So speaking of sports becoming worse and sports needing to figure out how to police itself. Look, we did in July of 2025 a whole episode that was about Malik Beasley. And what happened today is that the federal government, the Eastern District of New York, which notably the NBA does not control, a lot of the subtext that's uniting all of these stories is that we report some stuff, we have some research and intelligence that suggests that things are of interest to the federal government. That is the case of Aspiration. That is the case of the gambling scandal. The NBA is not quite in the loop on what the federal government likes to do now. And of course, the federal government today is a wacky place. So God knows that I don't know exactly what they're doing either. But what they announced today is that Malik Beasley has been charged as part of this increasingly sprawling ring that has indicted Ed Davis, the former NBA player, a current NBA agent, a number of other people that are new on the record. And the notion is there are several games that the federal government has identified in which Malik Beasley was fixing his performance via unders and overs to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the question we posed a year ago was, how is it that Malik Beasley is wrapped up in this? How is it that he was named before the federal government, before Shams Charania, before ESPN, before anybody? How is he named on Twitter by a random user as, watch out for this guy, he's going to be wrapped up in this too? How was that Twitter user ahead of everybody? And what we ultimately researched and reported was it might have to do with the fact that that Twitter user is connected to the Jonte Porter criminal group that has also now been charged and arrested. And is Jonte Porter and Malik Beasley, are they connected? And what this suggests is that they very well may be, because the depth of this problem is as vast as the incentive structure that has led NBA players who need money. Malik Beasley doing this for $2,000 allegedly, according to these text exchanges, which are crazy. It's because the incentives of sports have now changed.
Ed Davis, I was not aware that that name was involved with any of this. Can you put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Can you be a truly champion athlete if your name is Ed? Intimidating to others if your name is Ed.
Ed McCaffrey.
Ed Belfour.
So no?
Perez.
You said that one already.
I'm talking about a different one.
So no, Eduardo, he's Eduardo, pero Ed.
Eddie, tenemos Eddie.
Ed, no, just Ed though. Eddie, maybe Eddie might be intimidating.
Eddie Jones?
But just Ed. If I give,
Ed Reed.
If ooh.
Game over. That's it. Game over.
Yes, well done,
Good night,
Chris
everyone.
Cody, a sniper from the back room. Ed Reed, excellent work by you.
The greatest ever. Do it.
You got me. You got me, because I would not normally be intimidated by an Ed of any kind. I would indeed downgrade your athletic excellence if your name is Ed, but you've got me on Ed Reed, and I'm going to have to put down my sword, and I'm going to be embarrassed by the putting down of that sword.
Sheeran James?
That doesn't really work. I don't think anyone calls him Ed. Edge. I don't think anyone calls Edge. Ed.
Capital E-D,
Yeah,
Ed.
No, I don't think that's something that we do. Just out of a curiosity here, as Draymond Green opts out of his contract and now the whispers start again on LeBron James and the Warriors evidently trying to make moves, is this rumor or is this real? What is real as it relates to LeBron James, and what is real as it relates to Draymond Green opting out when Steve Kerr has signed up for 2 more years, and it seems like Steve Kerr and Draymond Green are going to ride out the rest of whatever this is together?
Well, first of all, we got an update from Draymond Green himself saying there will be an update on the Draymond Green Show. And you know what he used as a GIF to kind of announce this? The bat logo in the sky. It's a very Batman Monday, folks. Lots of Batman today. Mexican Batman.
Pablo, you know about that
is
Mexican
Bane.
Batman?
We got a Mexican Batman?
Yeah.
Do we have a? Oh, do we?
Yeah. And also, was Robin gay? Yeah. You got the Pulitzer.
Find that one out.
Is Robin a superhero, yes or no?
Ooh. Robin.
Dick
No.
Grayson or Jason Todd?
No, he's not a superhero. He's not. Robin is not all sidekicks are superheroes.
There you go.
Is the Robin relationship one that Amin has suggested was grooming by Batman?
He was rescued from like a family of acrobats.
Pablo, he was a circus freak
The Flying
child
Graysons.
that Bruce Wayne said, hey, come live in my billionaire mansion and I'll take care of you.
You just got to wear these tights.
Uh-huh. So those pretty legs off.
LeBron James.
So, this is from Shams Charania. when he reported that Draymond Green is opting out. Quote, the opt-out comes days after the Warriors said they expected Green to pick up his $27.7 million option. Instead, Green delivers Golden State time and space to pursue Anthony Davis and convince LeBron James to join Steph Curry, Green, and his old Lakers championship teammate in the Bay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the basketball version of the Expendables.
Justice League was right there for you.
Oh, no, I like the Expendables better.
It's been a Batman show.
That's a good point.
Zaz, do you think that LeBron James is going to be mobile?
Mobile meaning I think he's going to leave the Lakers, or he's going to be an athletic player? That's a fair question.
It
right?
is. I'm on your side.
Good point by Zaz.
Yeah,
Mobile was a weird way to describe it.
Owed.
Yeah.
On the move.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No one's confused about that.
Got her ass.
It feels like it's trending toward him going to Golden State. Yes, it does. I don't think it's coming here, but it feels like it's trending toward him going to the Warriors.
I said this in 2024. Wow. The most perfect basketball I've ever seen was LeBron James and Steph Curry just running circles around everyone. And I said, if we ever have an opportunity for these two guys to play, I never root for outcomes or whatever, but this one felt like we owe it to basketball. These guys need to play together. I did not ever consider that Anthony Davis would be in the equation as well. Guys, hey, young people, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, you might have to take a seat for a little bit. The old boys are back.
When talking about if a player is going to switch teams in free agency, have they ever been described as being mobile?
The nickname "the old boys" is truly terrible. The old boys are back. Like, that's just a terrible sports nickname. I don't know what you're trying to convey there other than age. Not much mobility. You're not conveying mobility with the old boys as a nickname.
I forgot all about Jimmy Butler, who, by the way, did you see him at the Columbia game?
I thought I could cosplay as a Colombian. Holy cow.
Jimmy Butler, too. I forgot about that. Look at that. Amin is declaring the Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Steph Curry Warriors. He's declaring them as a legitimate threat to OKC and San Antonio.
The old boys.
The old boys is a terrible nickname.
I have to go back to Chris Cody here because I'm not sure that I knew this. I have to go back. So you're married to an identical twin.
That's right.
Okay, I have questions.
Go on.
First,
not too many questions.
I know your father's sitting right next to me. It's a little weird. Okay, so first question.
No wonder they're into swinging at that house.
Were you always able to tell them apart?
Not at the beginning when we were just dating. Her sister has like a beauty mark on her face, so I was like, mine's the one without that.
Okay. My next question is, a lot of times, your wife or your girlfriend will be like, you think my sister's attractive, don't you? You clearly think her sister's attractive.
That's right. Undeniable.
If you think your wife's hot, you think her sister is hot.
My sister-in-law's hot.
That's
There, I said
crazy.
it.
Right?
I've never said that to her before.
No, you got to say that, though.
Well, you must think she's hot.
But Zaz, here's the deal. Everyone with a hot sister-in-law thinks their sister-in-law is hot. He's the only one who's allowed to say it out loud. That's the difference.
That's true. That's true.
Not like the rest of us are like, oh, my sister-in-law is terrible. Like, if you got a hot one, you're like, oh, my God, she's hot, but you just can't say it out loud.
Yeah. And are they actually different?
They're very similar in a lot of ways.
So how'd you choose?
The other one was taken.
Papa Cody, wait a second now. You experienced this. I mean, do you find one more charming than the other?
At the very beginning, I, too, had difficulty telling them apart.
But do you like, now that you've gotten to know, presumably both of them pretty well, do you think that your boy made the right choice between the two?
I have to say that. I mean, of course he did.
Oh, my goodness.
Of course he did.
Now.
I love my daughter-in-law, but they're eerily alike.
Now.
Not just physical.
What I'm about to admit now is a little embarrassing.
Go on.
There are times, in marriage, you're going through.
We know.
You're like, it's just, this is.
I don't like where this is headed.
I don't either.
I do.
Where sometimes you just like, if you're trying to keep things fresh, you just imagine it's the other person.
Oh no.
That's an unbelievable admission.
That
What's the matter with you, man?
I didn't hear
Suey. Hey, guys in the room outside, mark that down.
For
Suey
the record,
revelation.
did everybody see as one of society's great empaths? Did you see me try to get in the way? Did you see me try to dive in front of that? He refused. Yeah. He went. He plowed straight ahead.
You guys never struggle, huh?
Your wife clearly does not listen to this show.
Sure doesn't.
What in hell? No worries that this is getting back to her.
Tony, how you feel about that admission?
Not great. Yeah, not great. Even though, admittedly, Chris says that his wife doesn't watch the show, which is good, right?
Very
so he
good.
feels like he can shoot from the hip here and not really be taken to task, like Dave said. Very good. But the issue is sometimes some things are so flammable and so big that they peer through the veil of Chris saying, "Oh no, my wife doesn't watch the show," where she's like, "You said what?"
That was bigger than the show, man.
Bigger than the show.
Let's not clip this if we can.
That was an incredible admission.
Really
Greg, what did you make of all that?
A little bit unfortunate.
We'll update some polls here with Juju in a second, but just Amin and Pablo, since we have the Pulitzer winners here, and just hypothetically, okay, because I've been watching this Kawhi situation and the reporting that you guys are doing, and I'm like, how is the NBA going to wiggle out of this? Just hypothetically. If you were to try to arrange things between all parties so that you can get no loud objection from any NBA people in this scenario, wouldn't Toronto be the angriest group here because of how they lost Kawhi? And if they get Kawhi now in the exchange years later, isn't this one of the creative ways that you could arrange it if you were trying to do that hypothetically?
It's about the most convenient outcome is how this all is smelling like right now. Look, the question of what does the NBA fear as a result of their decision on the Clippers? They would fear the foremost example of a team that got wronged, the Raptors. They would fear perhaps a podcast that would say, "How could you do nothing?" And they would ostensibly worry about the fans who would make noises. And if you can thread a needle by getting Kawhi to the Raptors, a 5th overall pick in a stacked draft to the Clippers, and if you could do something so that a certain podcast can't say you did nothing, then suddenly you have read the board as strategically as you possibly could.
The difficult part that they have to tread, we're all talking with an air of certainty that we know that the Clippers did something untoward. But there is a realm where everything they do can be explained away in a way that, hey, letter of the law, we didn't actually do it. Forget about the intent. We didn't actually do anything wrong. And so within that small window, the NBA can make the leap, according to Article 13, that, hey, if this ended up in this way, you're guilty anyway. They can make the leap of saying, we can't prove that they circumvented the cap intentionally, even though that was the outcome. And as a result, we can levy this punishment, which would be commiserate with what happened with the Timberwolves years ago, a bunch of draft picks, suspension of key individuals. But the biggest gift that they could give is to take Kawhi away and give him to another team, and that's what seems to be happening. That's why Pablo's Larry Tannenbaum theory is very interesting, because if there were someone who were going to be kept abreast of the situation, it would be the chairman of the board of governors, no?
I mean, keep in mind just the backstage. What the NBA does not like telling the fans is that Larry Tannenbaum, chair of the board of governors, Steve Ballmer on the audit committee, right? Like, these are people who are in charge of very important aspects of how the NBA governs itself. And so look, what Amin is saying in terms of letter of the law is very interesting because, of course, the question then becomes how do you define rational explanation? But I think even more pressing for the NBA, Dan, to your question of like, how would you do it if you wanted to minimize the problem here? You would also limit the scope of your investigation. And what we reported in that episode we did at Sloan with the whistleblower complaint, which to me is a document that cannot be more persuasive because it was made in 2023. It was the roadmap the federal government used to prosecute Joe Sandberg, who has now been sentenced to 14 years in prison. And the same people, the same whistleblowers, the two of them who are Aspiration employees, also specifically say, before we reported anything independently, that this was carbon credits to circumvent the salary cap for Kawhi Leonard by the Clippers for a sham organic sponsorship agreement, right? That same episode, we also pointed out, I reported that 5 Aspiration sources said that they were not asked about Steve Ballmer. They were not asked. And so the question of what does the NBA do and how do they do it strategically? Well, you find out what you want to find out, and you don't ask the questions that can lead to answers that you don't want to know because you have an outcome that you're driving to, an outcome that you have a sense of because you're smart and because you're run by lawyers. And all you got to do is make sure that nothing gets in the way of the outcome you want to determine.
While saying the entire time that the people investigating this are independent.
Which
when
is the
you're
biggest.
paying them. You're paying
It's
them.
just, what are we
Juju, at Le Batard Show on the polls. We got a number of things to get to. But first, Juju, did you have any thoughts? You are or were until recently a Celtics guy. Where are you on the Jaylen Brown conversation?
Man, I think that this Chris Johnson ALS situation is a harsh reminder that these athletes we talk so vigorously and forcefully about, they humans just like us, man. And I'm not trying to sway nobody's opinion or anything. You can think what you think, but I think there should be some type of reward for a young millionaire brother who's never been arrested, never had no domestic disputes, never no scandals. And I think that reward could be a bit of understanding, in my opinion. You feel me? Because seeing yourself talked about so negatively by hundreds of people who you ain't never met can be tricky to navigate, especially for somebody in their 20s. You feel me? So, and this is a person who's the youngest person to ever lecture at Harvard. So expecting him to have those book smarts and street smarts in areas, I think we can lend the brother a little bit of grace.
Would the trophy for understanding have the under the stand? Like you put the stand on, but there's no trophy. There's just something under it.
And then would Messi ride it like there's no tomorrow?
Okay, enough of that. What is? Do you have a joker of the weekend for us, Juju?
Yes, sir, man. Man, I love it when anybody talks about the W, man. Come on, we have come so far from me and Renee Montgomery being the only people in the gym watching the Dream play. But my brother Chris Bosh this weekend, while giving praise, he had this to say.
Check this out. They're 15-4. The Lynx are. They're 15-4 right now. Okay, 9-1 on the road. They have a tremendous backcourt with Courtney Williams, with Kayla McBride, with Olivia Miller. If you haven't seen Olivia Miller, I'm not even gassing her or anything. She's cold. She can play.
Her name is Olivia Miles, and she is the Rookie of the Year. Back to you, Dano.
Tough look, Chris. Tough look.
Well, he was trying. He was.
Tough look.
Do you have for us an aura killer? Because I did a whole bunch of aura killing on today's show in a variety of different ways. How would you assign an award for aura killing?
Man, I'm talking about no matter how great of a player you are, there is just something about these Washington Wizards jerseys, bruh. Seeing my brother AJ DePensa in his jersey, the aura is not there, brother. This is my public plea to the Wizards. New jerseys this year, some kind of way. Where there's a wheel, there's a new jersey.
I don't agree. I think they remind me of the old Bullets jerseys, which I think look good. It's the undershirt there, Juju, that takes that loses the aura. It's the Hanes shirt underneath.
Chris Cody vigorously agreed with Juju. He does not like these uniforms.
Yeah. Well, in a debate about aura between Juju and Zaz, we all know.
I'll lean
we
with
all
Juju.
know what we're siding.
Two Americas.
Before we get to Juju's polls here, and we will do that in a second, aren't you celebrating and honoring Zaslow tomorrow
Hell
night?
yeah.
Are you not celebrating him at Las Rosas?
Yeah, I have a party that's at Las Rosas tomorrow called Dad Rock Forever. Every Tuesday, and I'll be DJing there with the recent new Miami New Times winner, Best Dance DJ in Miami, Generous B. That's my back-to-back partner there, and we will be honoring Jonathan Zaslow, our first ever Dad of Honor. Now, when we play Dad Rock, it's classic rock, 90s rock, and this genre called butt rock. You know what that means? Get ready to learn Pearl Jam, buddy.
Hell yeah.
What time? What time is this?
It begins early start time per request from our Dad of Honor. We're getting after it early. 5 o'clock.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
5 o'clock. Most happy hours start there. So 5 o'clock, great happy hour specials at Las Rosas tomorrow, and it'll be going to close to 10 p.m. So 5 p.m., come out and honor as our Dad of Honor.
Hell yeah. I'm going to get that early bird dinner and head straight on over.
What is butt rock?
Nickelback, Stained, Saliva,
Creed.
Things that were played on rock radio mostly. That wasn't new metal. Around like the early 2000s.
So Zaz, you'll be there 5 to 10. Good.
No, I'll be there 5. I'll be there 5. Okay. Time that I leave to be determined. But I'll be there at 5.
To celebrate what an amazing dad you are. And then, like a true dad, you're checking out long before 10.
Got to get home.
At Le Batard Show on the polls, Juju, what do we have today?
Are there people in the circus who are not freaks? 63% of the audience says no, there are not.
Yeah.
Damn.
Told y'all.
Did the Batman and Robin relationship have a weird beginning? 91% of the audience says yes, they did.
Yeah. Told y'all.
Is Robin a superhero? 59% of the audience says no, he is not.
Yeah.
Man. Flying Graysons. Is the bagpipe the worst of all musical instruments?
Yeah.
58% of the audience says no. Worst instrument, the bagpipe, the harmonica, or the accordion? 53% of the audience says the accordion.
Yeah.
Yep.
The harp should have been in there somewhere. I think the harp is skating on this one.
Polka, polka, polka.
I think you're
That's
harping
how you
on
go
it.
to hell, Dan. And there was a poll that I just said, I'm not putting that up. I said, I'm not putting that up because, Dan, you are a Miami representer. If I put that Ed poll up, you're going to have people coming at you from all angles because that Ed Reed was so much of a blunder.
Yeah.
But last poll, should there be a his Monica? 59% of the audience says yes, and those are your polls.
Yeah.
See y'all. Never.